How's it going?
Good. I thought I was going to be late.
Nope. First one.
That's funny.
So
How
there
are
you go.
you?
Doing good. Doing good.
Hello.
Hey.
Hey, Ivy.
Nice Shrek poster.
Oh my gosh, it's my vinyl currently on the player right now.
It's your what? Oh, it's vinyl. Oh,
The
okay.
vinyl, yeah.
Shrek vinyl. That's sick.
Soundtrack to the movie.
Got a big crew coming, don't we?
Yeah, I
Supposed
think
to be.
so. I think a few people on this, Nate and Ben are both sort of up in the air. I'm not sure if they're actually going to show, but maybe. Everybody else, I think, is coming for sure.
Nice.
Yeah, almost a full house, honestly.
Might have the biggest one.
It's pretty good.
Probably, yeah. Probably will be the biggest. But the crew one for this we did the other night, and that was the biggest crew one. There was like 10 people on it. Where are the rest of these jokers?
Yeah.
Oh, speak of the devil.
Who's that?
Did I hear jokers?
Oh.
Someone called me joker?
What's up, man?
Nothing. All good. We're healthy baby, so we're tracking.
Nice.
That's so exciting.
Yeah. 3 weeks left.
Wow. Oh my
That's
God.
crazy. Do you guys know the gender?
We don't. We're keeping it a surprise. Old fashioned.
That's sweet.
I'm an
I
old
wasn't-
timer. I'm not like you young whippersnappers doing these gender reveals.
Gender reveal.
Yeah.
I feel like you would do a really
Names?
elaborate gender reveal.
No. What was that, Eliza?
Do you have names?
So we have a girl's name. I won't
Mhm.
say it on this in case Anne gets mad at me. I guess this isn't going to be aired for a while now. But boy names were completely up in the air. We don't really have a good name. So if you guys have any suggestions, feel free to fire them away. I'm thinking Chip. I really want Chip so we could have Chip and Dale, but Anne's not really hot on that. So, but it's a candidate. She's like not completely close to it. So we might have the Rescue Rangers running around.
That would be really funny.
Does she care if I put this conversation in the video?
No, she doesn't care.
Dale, I still remember, is it your nephew? That's dangerous. That's such a
I
cool name,
remember that
Dangerous.
too.
I know.
Yeah,
It's very
It would have been
memorable.
much easier. Yeah, we had Ian. I don't know if you knew this, but we were going to name I always wanted to name my first son, if I do have a son, Dane. So my last name is pronounced Jarris. So it would be Dane Jarris. Dangerous. And he'd be like a stud athlete, like wrestling and like running football with the ball. It's like dangerous for the carry for 10 yards and a touchdown. And he just did the teddy dance and everything. But my brother actually heard the idea from me when I was in high school and had a son and named his kid Dane. So now I have a nephew named Dane. And
Wow. So your brother
Yeah, two
completely snaked you and stole your idea.
snaked me. That's why like Anne's hypersensitive about sharing our names because she doesn't trust anyone snaking our names. But Anne dodged a bullet. She did not want to have a son named Dangerous. So I don't know if I would've
Was
been
that going to be a
well.
big point of contention?
It could have been. I mean, I don't know how serious I was actually about having a son named Dangerous, but when push
your
comes to
brother
shove, I
was,
liked
so,
it.
yeah.
Well, the other thing that made sense was my whole family is D's. So we were the 5 DJs. It was Don, Doreen, Derek, Danielle, and Dale. So we all had D names. So I always had an affinity for D names. So I would have liked to have another D name for my kid. So Dane kind of worked out in the sense that it was D as well. But
Interesting.
I think Anne's going to get out of that as well. I don't think we're going to have a D name.
Hmm.
Unless it's Dale Jr., then you know,
Yeah,
we just have little
DJ.
juniors.
DJ Jarris.
Yeah.
That's pretty cool.
Hi,
What
Katie.
up, Katie?
Hi everyone.
Do they not have like laptops out in California? What's the deal?
Well no, I'm actually still in Ann Arbor.
Oh,
Oh,
Yeah.
nice.
Are you
Yeah.
you still live in Ann Arbor?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, I didn't
Well,
know
what
that.
happened was like when I graduated, it was COVID. It was like the beginning of COVID. So then I like got a job here and then I just like never left because I liked my job.
Where are you working?
The t-shirt company, it's on a
Oh, yeah.
Maple. Yeah, I don't know if you've heard of it, but they were actually like some Ross alum that like started a business out here after graduating and did pretty well.
Is
Yeah,
it
there's-
underground printing?
What'd you say?
Is it underground printing or is it called the
Oh,
t-shirt company?
It's called the t-shirt company, but it's basically the same thing. They're like our competitors.
Yeah, no, we don't like underground printing
Mhm.
here. Only the t-shirt company.
Yeah.
Well, underground printing was also obviously started by Michigan alumni as well.
Oh, were they?
So
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah, so it's like two alums competing against each other for the t-shirt business in Michigan.
Must be
That's
a-
funny. That
Must
must
be a good
be.
market space.
I feel like that must be big business too.
Dude, just
Custom
set up
t-shirts.
shop at a college campus, like all the fraternities and
Yeah.
sororities. Like,
Yeah,
There's a
Survivor
there's your whole year
Michigan.
of orders,
Everybody printed shirts like there's no tomorrow.
Yeah, I actually had to call Underground Printing like undercover and pretend that I was ordering t-shirts to get like their prices the other day. And they were like,
well, you know
"Oh."
that the founders watch Survivor Michigan podcast, so you just gave away your.
I'm gonna edit this so I can cut anything out that we don't want in.
Her case trade secrets.
You know, in case the Underground Printing Company is watching Survivor Michigan.
Thanks.
Who else are we waiting on? Camila, Shannon, potentially Nate or Ben.
Did we get Kat to agree to this, or is that
Hell
a long
no.
shot?
That was a long
Not
shot.
even
I
close?
texted her and she was like, absolutely not. And I was like, how would you be willing to send in like a video? And she said, that's a hard maybe. Text me again in a week. So I'm gonna text her again like tomorrow and see. I think I could get her to send in a video though. I'm on pretty good terms with Kat.
Hi everyone. I'm gonna keep this real short because I don't really have anything intelligent to contribute to any conversation about Survivor anymore. But Ian did reach out and asked me if I wanted to be in a reunion podcast. The answer is no. But then he was like, can you make like a 2 minute long video? And I was like, sure, I can do that. Like I have the time on 2 minutes on a Sunday to like make a video about Survivor Michigan. But I don't really have time to like be in a whole podcast episode. Not least because I didn't enjoy my time like on Survivor, but like mostly because I legitimately don't have the time. Like I didn't really have time to be in Survivor Michigan like when I was in undergrad, and I was just in ROTC. Now I'm in the actual fucking army. In flight school, I wake up at 4 a.m. every day of the week to go fly helicopters. Like, I really don't have the time or, like, mental capacity to think about Survivor or remember a single goddamn thing that happened, like, on my season. So, like, the only thing I really have to say, and in the absolute nicest way possible, how are any of you still thinking about Survivor Michigan? Like, we participated 3.5 years ago. I graduated over a year ago. Like, I don't mean to come across like you don't have anything else going on in your life, that you're still like thinking about this club that you were in undergrad, especially if you're still in college, because then yeah, like do whatever you want. But especially if you've graduated, like why are we still thinking about Survivor Michigan? You know what I mean? Like, it's an undergrad club. Undergrad. We had like 2 grad students who participated on my season, which baffles me still to this day. But like, I don't know, anyone who had that kind of impact made on them by Survivor, like that they are still thinking about it this many years later, that it still has this much of an impact on their life, that they are like working for production like post-grad, volunteering for production post-grad, or like being in podcast episodes like this, like voluntarily. I don't know. I don't get it. I was not impacted in that way, so I'm confused by people who were. You can say hi to my cat though, because that's really all I have to say. In the nicest, absolute nicest way possible, I feel like you guys need new hobbies if you're still participating in this show. This is my cat named Rhubarb. She's perfect. She's the most perfect baby. You say hi to everybody? She's 10 months old. She's a perfect baby. Oh, you can say hi to my roommate's dog too. Clove, come here. Come here, hop up. Hi, lady. But yeah, I got a cat. I'm in Army Flight School. I'm taking care of my roommate's dog for the weekend. Like, I'm about to go on a little podcast walk. And in January, I'll find out what helicopter I fly for the rest of my Army career. Like, I have more stuff going on than thinking about Survivor and being in podcasts about it. And I certainly won't begrudge anyone what they love to do. But I am confused about it. So, you know. Hi to everybody. It would have been kind of nice. I guess like, it would have been kind of nice to like say hi to people. But like mostly I don't have the time. Nor do I really have the interest. But I'm happy that you guys like... I'm happy that the ones who still participate have found such a meaningful community in Survivor. Which sounds backhanded. I don't mean it to be backhanded. you know, it just wasn't for me. It was never for me. But I'm happy for you guys.
Isn't he like in the Air Force now or something?
Yeah. She was like, even if I would want to do this, which I never would, I'm far too busy to ever do this, is what she said.
Okay.
But it was worth an ask, you know?
Yeah.
Hi, Camila. How you doing?
Oh, you're
Uh-oh.
muted.
Can't hear her at all.
You're muted.
For someone who's a superstar on
There
TikTok,
we
you
go.
think you could figure out technology? Geez.
I know that was actually so brutal. I can't believe that just happened to me. Yeah, just I haven't used Zoom in a while. I actually don't have my personal laptop, so then I like went to go use my like work laptop, and then like I sat there thinking like, fuck, because I have like an Amazon laptop, so Amazon only uses Amazon Chime. And I was like, am I gonna get in trouble for downloading Zoom? And so I was like, I shouldn't use this. And so then I was like to my sister, I was like, can I borrow your laptop? But then like I tried to use her laptop, and her like camera was so bad. I was like, this is brutal. Like I'll just use my phone. And yeah, I don't use Zoom a lot on the phone, so it's a bit different.
Well, we'll get started after Shannon gets in here. But basically, I have some questions people wrote in, and we'll just talk about, you know, some things people had questions about, and then we'll just talk about the season a little bit. I did the crew version of this the other day, and so the crew got to air their you know, feelings about the season and stuff. So I think we should have an open floor for any, you know, criticisms of the production, because that was kind of what was going on in the other one. So this is where we're going to get it all out, you know, all of the beef, all of the anything you guys found issue with the challenges or anything. It's completely fair game.
I feel like it's tough because I don't even remember anything that happened
Yeah,
anymore.
I don't remember.
I was like, what were we mad about? Like,
I don't know. Maybe it'll come to you.
I
yeah.
still remember.
Yeah.
Eliza,
Yeah.
your boys on Instagram been reaching out to me. You're
I know, that's so
these
funny.
poor guys.
What did they
well
send
now
you?
they like it's like a continuous trickle. It wasn't
They
just like
send
a one
more?
event. Yeah, like this guy, what's his name? Jacob, I think,
Jake,
right?
yeah.
Or Jake?
What's the deal with this? Someone's got to explain this one.
Two friends of mine from Peace Corps watched Survivor Michigan, and then they told me that they reached out to Dale, but I didn't realize it was a continuous stream of videos. Jake, yeah, that's funny.
Wait, Lisa, he also reached out to me too.
Really?
Oh my God.
Yeah, like, and I just realized right now he responds to all of my stories with fire emojis and goat emojis.
Camilla,
He's
actually,
like-
now that you say that, I'm not even kidding. I think one of his Instagram messages was like, do you think I have a chance with Camila or something? I'm not even like, this guy I think is like your
yeah, like
dream
I
girl
didn't
for
even
him.
realize
I was
it.
like,
You got a stalker.
shoot your shot, bro. Reach out to her. I think was my advice. The other thing he sent me was like, this was like a few weeks ago. He's like, swag daddy, I need a swag person's opinion on my new rap song. And he sent me his rap song that he created with one of his buddies. And it was like, just like hardcore beat and him just like being like, I'm the motherfucking beast, like just dropping like a bunch of F-bombs. I was like, dude, I love it. I was like, you're the next star.
He's a
Right.
character, but I promise he's actually really sweet.
Oh, dude,
He is
I
a
sent
good
him a few
character.
Instagram
He'd be good
videos
on
back.
Survivor, honestly.
That's so funny.
Mhm.
All right, I'm giving Shannon 3 more minutes, and then we'll just start without her. I'm wondering if maybe she fell asleep. It's like midnight where she is.
So it's
Bye.
just gonna be us.
Yeah, it looks that way.
Still a good sized crew.
It's still pretty
This is
strong,
a pretty good crew.
pretty strong turnout. Yeah. I guess oh yeah, we got a pretty even split of Tokidoki to El Norte. I guess what, 4-2. I guess that's not that even a split.
Okie dokie with the numbers. That's rings a bell.
All right, let's just get started. I guess if Shannon jumps in, she jumps in. All right, welcome everyone to the Survivor Michigan Wolverine Wars cast reunion. It's great to see all of you guys here. Just to start off, let's have everybody like introduce themselves and say, you know, where they've been and what they've been up to since the season ended.
Okay. Hi, I'm Eliza, and I was a returnee on season 4. And I don't even know what I've been up to the last couple of years that could be summarized this fast, but now I'm living and working in DC. So I'll stick with that.
So I'm Matthew. Hopefully people watching this knew that. And since the season ended, which really wasn't that long ago, I graduated and became a CPA, and I'm now, just working the corporate grind. So that's about it.
Hi, I'm Ivy. Since the season ended, I graduated, lived in the East Coast, went to corporate America, left corporate America to be a student again. And then I moved back to the Midwest to Kansas for med school.
All right, I'm Dale, seasons 4 spectacular winner. Many of you know me as the Swag Daddy. Since leaving Michigan, moved back to Chicago. I think the big life update is expecting my first child come October 15th, so less than a few weeks away here. It's funny, my paper plate award was first to have a child before the season airs, so I was 1 season off because I probably will have the kid before All Stars airs, so that's fun. Career-wise, still working on the business I was doing when I was a student at Michigan, so it's been fun watching that grow. Have 6 employees now. We're actually hiring a few more people, so if anyone's interested in a career, go to our careers page and please apply at bschooltravel.com.
Hi, I'm Katie. I was on season 4. I haven't left Ann Arbor since, but I graduated and I got a job at a t-shirt company in Ann Arbor. And I started there as I pretty much was the janitor there, and I was doing COVID cleansing of the building. I was washing the bathrooms and the doorknobs and the keyboards and everything. And then they just kept promoting me, and now I do graphic design there. So it's pretty cool.
I'm Camila. I was on season 4. Since the season aired, I have graduated and I just moved to California, and now I'm working there.
First of all, how have you guys' thoughts about Survivor Michigan or the experience you went through changed at all since you did it, since it came out?
I can't believe I spent so much time in my day on Survivor. To think about that, how much time and dedication I put into it. I'm I don't think I could ever do that again for anything. I'm just I know what I need to do. I'm I'll do it, but the dedication was strong.
I'll say not much of my perspective has changed. Kind of enjoyed it while I was there. Still enjoy it looking back on it. Still think I should have got a unanimous decision, but that's a topic for another day. But yeah, I wouldn't change a thing. I loved it. Loved every experience of it.
Yeah, I agree with Dale. I thought it was awesome then, and I think it's awesome now. I think it's even awesomer now that I can watch it.
I would concur. I think, season 4 is one that ages with time, and the more time that goes on, and especially after it aired, and you did such a good job putting it together. And, during the season, some people were saying, it's, the worst of the 4 seasons. But I think, since then and seeing it air and, having it, the time pass, I think, the experience in general is great, but also season 4 specifically, it's it was a really good season, really fun season. So, yeah.
I feel as time goes by, I forget all the little things. And, I didn't win, so I just blocked it out. No, I'm just kidding. I don't know. Yeah, it's nice that it's online now, so I can always remember it by watching it.
Did you guys have did your families watch it or any of your friends or anything? And if so, did there any funny stories from that, or did any of them, think lesser of you or more of you after doing so? Will you show it to your son, Dale, or your daughter?
Hell yes. I was gonna say all of my family, not only my immediate family, but my whole extended family watched. I know in a few, I watched a few of these podcasts, and people in previous seasons are I haven't watched. My family certainly hasn't watched. I don't understand that at all. This was one of the most fun experiences, and maybe it's different because I won, but I'm just going out there with a big sticker on my forehead. Please go to Michigan Survivor and watch my season. Every time I meet someone, I'm hi, I'm Dale, Michigan Survivor season 4 winner. You should go check it out on YouTube. It's a 12 season series, about an hour episode each. I don't think anyone's perspective of me changed. They already knew I was pretty much a nut and a weirdo, so they all expected it. And I was more disappointed in the people who didn't watch. And their biggest quarrel with it, and Ian, maybe this is something you could help solve, was the audio on some of those outdoor challenges. They're that turned me off. I couldn't couldn't stand with just like listening to the wind, just being like,
Yeah,
we got to get
that.
some mics on the contestants.
There's nothing you can do about that, unfortunately. The audio in the outdoors is just heinous and not good. I tried to make it better for All Stars, but sometimes it's still not good. Once I had more control over the situation, I tried to make it a little bit better, but the challenges especially still sometimes it's just kind of tough. But
I feel like doesn't that add to like the charm of the show though, that it's like student made, and like it's not super high quality. It's not like the actual show.
Yeah, I think the problem is when I tell people to go watch it, I sell it as like an official thing. I'm like, yeah, it's like, put on by like official Survivor, and it's like a sub series that they run. So like, it's like a trial for like potential future contestants. And they're like, really? I'm like, yeah, like it's legit. And then they go watch it and they're like, okay, this wasn't as legit as you said, but it gets them to start.
I think that the challenges is definitely like the least legit part. Like if you took the challenges out, I think you could trick somebody into thinking that it was like more legit than it seems, probably.
Sure.
Which is funny because I like hype it up a lot to people I meet, and everyone thinks that like I'm out here on an island, like competing these challenges, like all these things. And then like they go watch it and they're like, no, it's about the drama, like not the challenges at all.
I feel like I vented about Survivor, just like when I played it was like all I could think about and all I could talk about. And so I told some, like I would, like, cause I couldn't, talk through all the scenarios with people in the game, of course. And so I vented a lot to friends and family. So then it was fun to have them watch like everything that I actually told them about.
Yeah, I think for me, I stopped watching after I got voted off because it was like too painful to watch. I was like, I can't see it continue. It hurts too bad. So like I've seen like little snippets of like everything that happened after, even still, but I definitely tell everybody to watch it. But while it was coming out, I remember feeling like really cringed out, like by myself, like constantly. And so like I would see my friends like sending me like Snapchats of them like having like watch parties with their friends, and I was like, no. But I still tell everybody to watch it. I think it's like still in like my Instagram bio because I'm like, everyone go watch it. It's great.
I'm gonna date myself, but my Facebook cover photo is still the season 4.
Oh, let's go.
Cover photo. Yeah.
Good
I
advertising.
think it's Facebook. It's reasonable you haven't changed that. But yeah, no, I agree. Definitely tell people to watch it. I usually wait a little bit till they get to know me. And I'm like, oh yeah, I was in a YouTube series, and they're like, what? And then kind of give them the whole spiel. And my parents watched season 4. They like season 4 a lot more than season 1. And my dad stalked most people on LinkedIn because that's what he does. And he sent me a screenshot of Jackson's LinkedIn, and he's like, is this Jackson? Because he used to be a lawyer, and he's like, I want to know what law firm he works at. I was like, I'm not going to give you his last name. And then he found him anyway. So
my dad was obsessed with Adam for some reason in season 4. Like the Adam said in like one of the early episodes, like something to the extent of, you're either the puppet master or the puppet, and bitch, I ain't no puppet. And that line, like my dad just says that all the time. And he was like, that's the best line ever. And then one time Adam was like at my house for some reason. And like, my dad comes up and said, oh my God, aren't you bitch, I ain't no puppet. That's how he introduced himself to Adam. Adam was like, that is something I said. Nice to meet you. So everyone's got their favorites.
Camilla, did you watch the Rites of Passage in the finale?
I think I did actually watch that. I watched.
So you got some airtime during that.
Yeah, I'll go back. Actually, I did watch the last episode. Just because I was like, gotta see how this all ends. But I mean, even though I knew, but I was like, let's just see it all come together. But I didn't watch the middle parts of it. But I was like, the ending, I saw you win. It was great.
You actually didn't know who won up to that point, right? Like all these years, you just had no idea.
Yeah, I just blocked it all off. No, I knew.
It was sort of known throughout the season that the cast and the crew had particular animosity towards each other on this season of Survivor Michigan. So do any of you guys remember anything about that really, or like what that really had to do with? Do you have any you can say about that?
And I think it started from that very first challenge when El Norte wasn't too pleased with the way Dale carried the pickles. And then from there, it just kind of spiraled in different challenges and stuff. So that, I have an echo.
Yeah, something's wrong with your audio there, buddy.
Weird.
Yeah, I think it all stemmed from just the complete incompetency of the challenge, like production. Like, I don't know who, I feel bad calling out like individuals, but whoever was like the challenge designers, every challenge like for the first 4 were just fundamentally flawed. Like they didn't make any sense. Like the pickle one, I mean the pickle one wasn't flawed, I just outsmarted everyone. But like the puzzle one, they screwed up so bad that they just gave one team one less puzzle and then tried to spin it out like it was designed. And I think you edited it out to not realize that they screwed it up. It's like, dude, figure it out. And then there was other challenges where like they just didn't make sense, and they didn't think through the rules, and then it just turned into something stupid. So it's just like, if you guys can't figure this out, like why are we trusting you? I think for me also, I had a lot of distrust with the producers slipping up, and like I just did not, because there's returning people on our season, and it was very clear that the people on production had relationships with returnees, and like retroactively looking back at it, like I think the integrity of the game like would prohibit anything of that happening. But at the time I was like, there's no way that these producers are gonna like not go back to like a returning player or who they're producing and just be like, oh yeah, Dale said this in one of his like confessionals. So like I was actually very hesitant to like share anything with my producer or even like submit some videos, because I just didn't trust that like there wasn't a leak. I just thought there was going to be a leak. So I was just like, I don't trust these people. They're incompetent.
I remember being a little bit like peeved early on when someone like a producer leaked my season 3 game to the current cast members.
There you go. See, it did leak.
And I was just like a little like, okay, there were things I didn't want to share quite yet. And of course there were other returnees in the game that could have shared those things. But I remember being like, wasn't ready for that one yet.
Katie, you and Camila made a bit of a face when Dale said that he just outsmarted everybody in the pickle challenge. So do you guys have a different take on that potentially?
I just remember being like confused. I remember being like, wait, what are the rules? And then like when you were like, we were confused. Now it's all coming back. I was remembering like being us like looking at production being like, are they about to get in trouble for like cheating, or are we allowed to do that? And like we were just like kind of waiting, and they were like filming, not answering. And we're like, do we continue, or like it's like, should we do that too, or is that cheating? And then they were just like filming, and then I just remember being like, yeah, that was irking.
I remember we were upset because they had said something before the challenge like, don't look for loopholes, like the directions we're giving you are exactly as we're saying them. And then it felt like the other tribe like found a loophole, and we were like, we would have tried to do that too, you know? It was something like that.
But yeah, and the puzzle thing.
To me,
I don't even remember exactly what
puzzle
you guys
thing was
did.
terrible.
Wait, the puzzle thing was crazy, and I remember watching that back
you had an
and
extra
being
piece.
like, how did they just edit it all out? And then like during they were like, now you have to go and negotiate. And I was like, but why do I have to negotiate when she has more of my puzzle pieces? Like, it like just made no sense. Like, it was really crazy that it had gotten to that point.
Yeah, I had to cut like so much of that challenge out to just try and hide how nonsense it was.
Right.
Yeah.
Also, what wasn't shown actually in that challenge was the cup one.
Yeah.
Where like you have to remove cups.
Yeah.
And if you know that like puzzle, you fundamentally can't lose if you go second. Like you always could pull the number of cups where the whoever goes second, no matter what, will win. So I just thought like, how stupid is it putting in a challenge where the other tribe, if they like whoever goes second, if someone on a team knows it, you can't lose. There's no like chance or anything. It's just you have to do every 4 until you get down to 0. So I was like, that was a stupid thing to include. I'm gonna break the fourth wall here a little bit, and maybe you could edit this out if it's too much. But
no, go as far as you want. I'll edit anything that I think is over the line.
Another first impression of, and I don't think I told anyone this, but my first impression also of production and like kind of their inability to kind of be smart about production itself was day one. I was out there looking for the idol on North Campus. Like this was night 1, day 1. And I'm out there with like a flashlight, like walking around with the lantern. And Kevin comes over and he's like, hey, he just got out of, must have been an evening class. It was like 10 p.m. He's like, aren't you on Survivor? You must be looking for an idol. I'm like, yeah, I am. He's like, do you mind me filming you? Because I wasn't filming myself looking for the idol. He's like, this will be great footage. I'm like, sure, yeah, go ahead and film me. So he starts filming me. He's walking around, probably like just keeping me company for like 30 minutes. And then all of a sudden his phone dies. He's like, oh shit, my phone died. I'm like, okay, that's cool. And then he's like, do you mind if I just still kind of like watch you or whatever? I'm like, sure, yeah, keep me company. So I'm looking. And then like once I got over by that Wolverine statue, he's like, dude, can I borrow your phone really quick to film you? I'm like, and this was like 15 minutes after his phone had died. So he didn't ask me to like give him the phone right away just to keep the filming going. And then he's like, yeah, I just need your phone really quick. Can I take it? Can I borrow your phone to film you? I'm like, yeah, sure. And it doesn't take a rocket scientist. I'm like, I'm clearly close, or else he wouldn't be begging to get the film. Like, he didn't leak where the idol was, but I'm like, all right, yeah, take my phone. So then I just like searched that area for like an extra 5 minutes that I would have, and sure enough, I found it. I'm just like, if production is that like obvious of where things and clues are in this game, like I can't trust that they're not doing this with other players in the game. So I just said day one that he kind of gave away where the idol was.
That's so funny because on the Crew podcast yesterday or whenever we filmed it a few days ago, Akshay was telling that story and was like, and all of us were just like, that's not true. Like, you made that up. He was like, didn't Kevin like accidentally show Dale where the idol was? And we were all like, we've never heard that before. Like, I feel like you're making that up, Akshay. So, and no one was giving Akshay any credit for this. And it sounds like he was 100% right.
Right.
I mean, I don't know what he's supposed to do.
Like, there it is, but through his actions, it was pretty obvious.
He's got.
I guess, but what's his? Well, yeah, you have to get the shot though. I actually am with him on this because you're gonna find it either way, right? You're like right by it.
No,
I remember I did something
like,
similar. Yeah.
Like both, like when I found my idols, I reshot it afterwards.
Oh,
Like,
really?
Yeah, definitely. Both the times.
Oh, I didn't know that. Wow.
In the season 4 idol, I think I had the first time I took a picture instead of a video. It was like my 4th time filming the video, the one that actually made the cut in season 4.
This is like finding out Santa isn't real. Like I was always like, you specifically, I was always like, wow, Eliza like really good at filming. Like she always has it on when she like finds the idols.
For both, yeah.
Well, when I found my second idol too, like I wasn't filming myself. I found it, and then like the footage that you do have is like, guys, look, I was walking here, and then I went down these steps, and I looked left, I looked, and I film myself like the actions I took to find it, which I think is like good enough for like the purpose of the show on how he found it. So
yeah,
I was happy that he did it because I actually walked right past the Wolverine statue. Like I don't know if I would have done a second sweep through because it was like under leaves. They like kind of like buried it a little bit. So
I was
like,
at the Wolverine
production
statue
interference
that
here.
first night too, and I didn't find it.
see, there you go. It was kind of like
I did
buried. I was
not
like,
find
all right,
it.
it's got to be.
I think Dale's
Gotta
win
be
needs to be rescinded here because
I
it sounds
agree.
like production
Asterisk,
interference.
asterisk the season.
Take him out of the winner group.
Well,
chat.
to be fair, I never had to use the idol, so I guess they weren't much of a
All right, fair
help.
point.
Wait, wasn't there like snow that first night? Like,
No, there wasn't really any. There might have been like a little bit on the ground from a few nights, but like it snowed like week 2 or week 3 in, and then that became a whole nother controversy because like we blamed the footprints, I think, on Shannon or Matthew.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah.
we know Shannon has it because there was footprints leading right to the statue, and I'm like, fuck yeah. And I was like out of town that week, so I was like, Shannon's got to have it. She's got to have it.
I do remember that.
Yeah, there was also a lot of controversy over the trivia questions in that
Oh
one
my
challenge.
god, yeah.
Yeah,
Eliza,
That was crazy.
on Facebook.
When there was like whose status is married and like Dale is like married, but it's like
And we
not
also,
Dale.
yeah.
And
It
the
was
answer was
also-
Eliza, right?
We had like 8
I didn't
people to
even know.
choose
That was
from.
a weird one. But there were also, I remember like some of the questions were super random. Like I remember for Jackson, his was like friends described him as an oatmeal raisin cookie. But it's like, what does that even mean? So like I remember we had some super like random questions.
yeah. The other challenge that was like super flawed was the riddle one. There was like
Oh
musical
yeah,
chairs and
that one
riddle.
I also think makes no sense. I agree with you on that one.
Well, for 2 reasons. One, the riddles like were nearly impossible, so whatever. Secondly, even if you got all the riddles, the rule was you have to then go hit the button and get back to a chair. So even if everyone else in the game, when you figured out all the riddles, everyone else would see you hit the button, they would get in your chairs, and then you would be out. So really, it was just a game of like who's willing to sit here all night because once
Yeah.
you figure it out, you didn't need. The
I can't
riddles.
remember who it
Everyone-
was. It might have been you. Somebody like in the first round or two, like hit the button, and then everybody else sat in the chair before them. And then pretty much after that, everybody realized there was no incentive to hit the button, basically. So they stopped.
Yeah, it was me because Cooper like dangled like a carrot, like, oh, you get an advantage in this. And I took it as like whoever hits the button first gets the advantage. I didn't think that like the game was still alive. I thought it was like, all right, plot twist, whoever could get to this button first gets an advantage. So I'm like, fuck yeah, I want to go hit the bucket, complete last of jobs in it. And I was like, oh shit, I got to get back to the chair. And then after that, no one hit the button afterwards. So it's like that again, the challenge designers really did a good job.
The watermelon challenge was good, even though it's a little
Yeah,
messy.
that was by far
the hand holding.
I give Will
that was a
credit
good
for that.
one.
The watermelon challenge, the day after the watermelon challenge, a doctor told me that I probably had mono. So I don't think I did, like, thank God. But yeah, that would have been.
So did you give it to everybody or did they get it?
I was,
Did you
like, terrified. The doctor told me that he told me originally that I had mono, and we were like doing it like a test like the week later or whatnot. And the week later, he's like, honestly, I don't know, up in the air. So I never ended up telling anybody, but nobody got sick. So
What's funny that you say that, there was like a couple weeks before the watermelon challenge, I got like sick and I had to go to the doctor, and my mono test came back negative, but they had no idea what I had. So like,
this is problematic challenge in my mind.
I will say, watching it back, like watching it live, like the whole episode, I was just gagging. Like I was like, why did I do that? Like immediately, if I was doing it now, like I would puke.
It was funny that episode came out during COVID. And so like you had all these people commenting on it being like, oh my God, this is like the least sanitary thing ever. Like, I can't believe we did this. And we just didn't think anything of it, I think, at the time. But
yeah,
I feel like most people stuck to their own watermelon, maybe.
No,
I
can't remember.
I don't think so.
In my head, I thought a good strategy was like, I'm gonna bite off a bunch of chunks of watermelon and spit it out on the table so other people don't have to like hurt their jaws biting it. I remember being like, Eliza, I already got your piece right there. Go get it. And I was like retroactively thinking about it, like I'm spitting shit out and then asking someone to pick up my spit up to go because I thought it would be easier. And I was like, all right, that's a little gross.
It was like
one thing I do remember about that challenge was that people kept on yelling at Katie because she like would like run with her arms, and it was like she didn't like, you had to have your arms behind your back, and you running like didn't affect your ability to like not touch your mouth or something. I remember you kept on getting disqualified.
Oh, some cheating.
I don't remember that. I mean, I kind of remember that, but I was thinking about the challenge I won where you had to hold your arm up, and I was like, I think I actually kind of cheated on that too, because when you guys were like tying our arms up, I remember thinking like, if I hold my arm straight up, then I'm gonna have to keep it like that the entire time. So like when they were tying my string, I like bent my arm so that I would have like more slack. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I remember like, oh my God, this is totally cheating. But like nobody said anything. So that's what I was thinking when you guys
That's smart. That's really smart. That's the brains, that's the brains tribe. Brains over bronze, El Norte. Before, I know that Jack has told me before that he felt like it was rigged against El Norte from the start because all the challenges were very physical, and you would put all these like the more physical people on the other tribe. I don't know how you guys feel about that accusation.
That's so true. Like it just was so true. Like we never had a chance at any physical challenge because like you just look at us.
Yeah, we weighed like probably like 200 pounds less.
Who cares, I guess.
So is Jack saying that he's not physical? Is that what that's what I gathered out of this.
Yeah, I think he was saying that.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wasn't there like the second challenge was a puzzle related challenge, right? That was like the trivia and the
I guess if you count
two
that,
of the four were like
that
physical.
was like no, the third challenge was the trivia and stuff. The second one was like you had to it was the legs thing where you had
that
to
one
have
that one
less
was kind of
leg
physical
each time.
And then the watermelon one was sort of physical.
The first one wasn't physical.
Yeah,
like,
it was
the first
not.
one was like you're tossing pickles. We won that because we outsmarted them, not because we we weren't more physical than them. It's just
okay,
they decided to Tom Brady the pickle across the quad.
That was just confusing. It was just confusing.
Tossing 60-yard bombs with the pickle across the diag, and we're just like handing it off with like 2 inches. So that was a puzzle. Although Matthew almost blew it on the pickle chugging contest.
I was pretty slow.
Yeah,
No, I was slow. Matthew was carrying.
I think we both were. Jack and Ben would have caught us. Jack and Ben.
You guys are ahead by so much, though.
We needed the
like
full lead.
It didn't matter.
We needed the
that
full
point.
lead.
Another thing that gets brought up is the cat penalty vote, which is the only time that a penalty vote has been issued in Survivor Michigan. I don't know if that's ever happened in real Survivor, but it's the only penalty vote I've seen. So I don't know. How did you guys react to that in the moment? Did that make you guys less likely to want to work with Cat or more likely, or what did you guys think about that?
I honestly don't even remember it having like any relevancy in the game. I was just like, we weren't voting for Cat anyways. We're like, cool. Matthew, I think, had a field day out of it because he was like convinced that he was going to be like the one vote that that Adam would play. And if Adam had an idol, he thought she would be going home. So he's like, this is perfect. Like that way, if this penalty vote exists and he does play an idol, I'm not the one going home because now there's one vote. And then you also still just voted. Did you put another?
Yeah, I
vote on
put a
Kat?
vote on Cat with
So
the
she would
penalty
have two
vote
in case an idol was played. So
played.
this
Yeah.
was like his master scheme. I'm like, you're way overthinking this way too early. And I
It
think
was
that
it
kind of
was
put
it
a
was my
target on
first
your back.
tribal in a returnee season. I was allowed to overthink that one.
Yeah,
So.
but then everyone's like, dude, Matthew's gaming hard. He dumped the vote on Cat just so he wouldn't have this. Like, he's a schemer. I'm like, yeah, he is. Who would dump a vote on Cat? He's not your ally. Like, oh, I don't remember. Do you guys remember thinking too much about it?
No, I feel like it was the same. It was kind of just like funny.
Yeah.
Like the whole situation was just funny, I think.
And like she did not care at all about it either. I was like, okay, whatever.
Yeah, it was the perfect person to have a penalty vote against. She was like, I don't care, whatever. Production's stupid.
Oh, Ivy, I have a question for you. Somebody asked about in one of the episodes, you are meeting with Nate and you tell Nate that you're going to have to get rid of him at Final Five. And somebody said, what kind of gameplay is this, telling somebody to their face you're going to vote them out at Final Five? And you're like, I'm sorry, you have to go. Like, you'll beat me at the end because you're like El Norte and you have like the underdog. So I got to get rid of you. You can go to 5, but then you're gone.
God.
You know, can you defend the strategy behind this? Some multi-level chess, perhaps?
Okay, I will say like Nate and I like were pretty close. And I think we were in like North Quad Dining Hall, like completely putting all our like strategies on the table. Nate gave me heat for that for like the longest time. He's like, it doesn't matter, you're gonna vote me out. But I think it's still a valid strategy. Like if there was a lot of people like putting their votes for Nate instead of me, like I think he would have had the El Norte votes and like that would overpower.
Oh, sure. But why did you tell him you were going to vote him out?
I feel like there was no harm. And I think Nate was either like, I win or he's not, like he can't put more effort into it. So I was like, okay, like Nate isn't going to go tell someone else like my thoughts of like the final people. So like tell Nate, yeah, he's on there, but like he can be heard about it, but he knows what's coming and he couldn't rally enough people to vote against me. So.
Does anybody look back and have anything they like, the number one thing they wish they had done differently or anything along those lines? If there's one thing you could change.
I mean, I wish I played my idol when I was voted out.
I wish I would have told Elisa that I had. Well, no, I didn't have an idea, but I wish I would have known.
No, you did. Seconds before, I remember. Like
I thought you were gonna go home. I thought,
yeah. Dale and Jackson walked upstairs afterwards, and you were like, Dale said something kind of weird in the car. But then right then, Dale and Jackson walked. And I was
Dale
like,
told me you needed to go soon. He said you needed to go soon. So I wish I would have put 2 and 2 together and realized soon meant today.
Yeah, but
Well,
yeah.
I think I shared this previously. Matthew's the whole reason Elisa went home. Like we went into that tribal not expecting like to do the blind side and flip. And in the car, Matthew was like, I forget what you said, but I was like trying to pull it a string. I was like, you know, I'm really nervous about going into merge with a returnee alliance. And then you finally came clean. You're like, yeah, you know what? Me, Elisa, and Jack have been working like really close together. Cause I think I said, Elisa, you slipped up earlier in the week and you told me that you had talked to Matthew when like Matthew said you hadn't talked to Matthew or vice versa. So I told Matthew, I was like, yeah, you know what? Like you told me you didn't talk to Elisa, but Elisa told me you did. And you're like, that's bullshit. I can't believe she threw me under the bus. Okay, what's really going on is me, Elisa, and Jack have been working together. You said something of the sort. You three were working together. Yes,
no,
you did.
What happened
100%.
was I think it was the reverse, wasn't it?
I think I said we talked and Elisa said
we didn't. And then we were like in the car together and you're like, well, Matthew said you did. And I was like, oh yeah, we did. That's what I was.
Yeah. So whatever it was,
like Jack or something too.
Yeah, I pulled it up to me. You know what it was? You told me that you guys were talking to Jack. And then Matthew said he wasn't talking to Jack. I'm like, are you sure?
No, I never said that. I definitely never did. Because I remember that's why I was so peeved about it.
Someone has to go back and watch the episode and find out, figure out.
I don't know. My words can't be held against me.
Right. Whatever it was, I pulled it out of you. And in the car, you said that you were working with Elisa and Jack. Like that's like 100%
sounds like something
fact.
I might say.
And then I went to Jackson. I was like, dude, it's Elisa. He's like, really? I was like, Matthew just came including that him, Eliza, and Jack are working together, and that they've been working together since the start of the game. He's like, shit, so it's tonight? I'm like, it's tonight. So it was decided on the way to tribal.
Really?
And I went to him, and he's like, all right, let's fucking do it. And
Well,
it happened
sorry,
in a matter
Eliza.
of minutes.
I did not do that intentionally. Sorry.
One thing I regret, it was before I tried to get people to vote Dale out. I think it was that night when the challenge happened, Dale and I were like in the hallway talking about what we're going to do with our votes. And Dale brought up the idea of voting out Jackson. And I did think about it. I was like, but then I was like, I would rather get out Dale now than Jackson. But looking back at it, I wish I went with teaming up with Dale, get Jackson out, and then.
But you wouldn't have done that, would you have, Dale?
Absolutely. I had 2 idols. So if I survive that vote, I'm using idols at 6 and 5, and then I'm in final 4.
So you're fine voting out Jackson at 7?
100%. I was fully planning on voting out Jackson or Matthew at final. No, that was 7, or was that? Yeah, that was 7.
That was 7, yeah.
So, and I knew that week, because like for weeks before that, it was always brewing up that a big threat has to go at 7. A big threat, like Shannon was very like clear about that. Ivy was very clear about that. So I was like, I'm fine with the big threat going at 7 as long as it's not me, because I'm sitting on 2 idols that knew about. And then I go 6, 5, and then I'm at 4 without Jackson there. And then I don't have to worry about him being in the final 4 challenge where you effectively get to choose your fate. So Ivy, if you guys came to me and was like, Jackson's going this week, not a doubt in my mind, I would have absolutely banned it with you guys. And I think Matthew was on board too, because Matthew and Jackson kind of had this rivalry going on like in weeks 9 and 10, like thinking that there was going to be like this like Herculean moment. So I would have 100% voted out Jackson.
Anyone else? Camila, Katie, got any big regrets?
Yeah, I guess mine would just be when I was like volunteering to go on the other tribe. That would be my regret. For just obvious reasons.
Why'd you think it was a good idea at the time?
I guess I just thought I would never be voted off in my mind. It just like seemed like a non-starter. I was like, that's not gonna happen. I was like, this will be like, in my mind, I was always thinking like in real Survivor, that would be so cool. And like, especially if I didn't get voted off, that'd be so cool. But I didn't think like, well, what if I did get voted off? Oh, also though, I do remember kind of now, like, because I knew that Jack was working with Eliza and Matthew. And so in my mind, I was like, okay, well, I think maybe they'll work with me. Like, I think that's what I was thinking. And I was like, so I didn't see it as like I had no chance, but looking back, obviously I would not have done that, period.
Brutal.
I mean, it was a good thought process. Like, maybe we should have worked with you and Katie and got rid of Taylor Jackson. So yeah.
I remember wanting to work with Camila.
Yeah.
I think it was the threat of giving Jack too much power, partially.
100%.
I think that was when the alliance, like the returning started leaking. And so like
I remember that Megan had some involvement in this as well. Like Megan was leaking stuff to Jackson, I think.
Yeah.
And then
I remember that.
Elise and I heard about it and we were mad at Jack. So we're like, we're not gonna help Camilla. Yeah. That was it.
Wait, what was it again? I just missed it.
It was.
Can you say it again?
I think it was Megan knew.
Jack told Megan, and Megan told Jackson, and Jackson told all the Toki Doki people.
Dude,
and
I actually remember that so
Jack.
clearly.
Yeah.
I remember because I don't even think it was filmed. Like, I was driving with Megan in the car. She was like dropping me off at Acapella, and we were just like driving. We weren't filming, and she was like, "Oh, I gotta tell you something, by the way." And I was like,
this was in the episode.
Yeah, but like you only get the end part, because like once I already started screaming at her, I was like, let me get this in. And but I was like, why would you do that? And I was like, and why are you telling me this for now? She's like, I feel so bad about it. And I was like, bro, like now I'm gonna go home. Now I'm gonna go home because of you. Even though like looking back, it could have happened anyway. But I was like, this is all your fault, Megan. Why would you do that to me? And she was like, and I remember her crying. I think that's what's not in it. Like, we stopped filming and then she started crying and was like, I feel so bad, Camila. And I was like, don't cry, like it's fine, like I'm sure it's fine. But yeah, obviously it was kind of a bad move, but what can you do? She was in love.
I remember that tribe swap, and Nate and I like at one point started freaking out because we thought we wouldn't be in the same tribe, because El Norte wanted to send Nate, but I was like, no, you can't leave because I'm coming to you. And I remember I'm like, Nate, you have to find a solution. He started like talking to everyone to find a way to get like certain people switched over, not him.
Yeah, I would say the few regrets I guess I have, they're not really a game move related, but one was just not filming a ton of stuff. Like one, the lack of like trust in production, and two, just a lot of like those conversations happen over the phone and I just forget to like record myself over the phone. So I think there was like a lot of content lost there. Second regret was the drunken escapades of my idol reveal. I had like such an elaborate way of like delivering this and sharing it and like making it seem like very grandiose, and I think it just fell a little bit flat for obvious reasons. And then the other one, not a regret because I think it was the right game move, but I really wanted to play that sand challenge where we're ripping people off the poles, and that's the one that we decided to throw, and like I think that was the right game move, but I think that would have been so much fun playing that.
Were any of you guys ever consider going on Real Survivor, or have you looked into it at all?
I would, but I haven't really looked into it.
Sent in a few applications, 2, maybe 3. So.
Got any traction?
No, not yet. So.
I think I've already shared my Survivor, like Real Survivor story.
Have you applied since? You got pretty close.
Yeah, I applied in 2013, made it to like the 4th round of casting, and then like the next round would have been going out to LA. I think they invite 100 odd people to LA and then whittle it down to like 16. Got cut at that round. I think I applied again once more in like 2015. Haven't applied since. I absolutely am going to apply again. It's just kind of like what a few people said in the season 3 podcast, like the life timing isn't exactly right now. I'm having a baby in a few weeks, so like maybe once the baby's like 1, then I could go once we get things figured out. But I think probably another year or 2 before I submit an actual application.
For sure.
I will get on the show, and then I've already thought about this in my head. I'm going to get on the show and I'm going to call out Survivor Michigan like a million times just to
dude, you have to do like
all the
so like
deserves.
you have to do that. If you
100%.
if you get on, I'm counting on you to just say it constantly, because like Claire is on Big Brother and like stuff now, and she's on like The Amazing Race, but she like doesn't talk about it that much. But like, so if someone like you, who I feel like was more invested in it, gets on, just bring it up constantly.
I'm just gonna be like, well, in my days in Survivor Michigan, I learned this, so now I'm applying that to here, and I'm just gonna keep rattling it off. You heard it here first. In a few years, we're gonna watch this back and be like, damn, he wasn't joking.
Because that would make if somebody from Survivor Michigan gets on Real Survivor who was on Survivor Michigan, like I feel like that would just instantly boost like the views of that season by like so many.
Yeah, we gotta crush whatever season 1, episode 1, whatever has the most views. Season 4 is coming. The best season. All these people shitting on season 4. Their season
4 is my favorite of the first 4. If I were to go back and rewatch it, it was my favorite to edit also, but I think that is also just because like I got better at it with the later ones, you know. So like there was stuff there. I have less regrets about the editing of season 4 versus season 2 and 3. There's stuff that I look at it, I'm like, that could have been better. That could have been done a little bit better. Definitely the underrated season. I will say that season 4, like it started off doing slightly less good than some of the other seasons, but there was much less drop off later on in the episodes, basically. So like more people who started with it stuck with it than in some of the other seasons. I don't know what that means, but
we had an electric cast, obviously.
Yeah, we had consistent fans.
Yeah, it was the best confessionals for sure. Like across the board, there was definitely not a weak link in the confessionals. You know, even people who are not super invested in the game, like Kat or like Aaron, had like hilarious videos still. So,
Katie, you look like the Hamburglar right now from McDonald's. There we go.
Dude, you're dating yourself with that reference, I feel like.
Dude, it's Halloween time. Does anyone have the McDonald's Halloween cassette tape?
What is that?
But
back in the day around Halloween season, they came out with like a six song cassette tape for like Halloween at McDonald's, and like the McNuggets sang a song, the Hamburglar sang a song, and they were dope. Like I would listen to that thing on repeat. Google it. It's one of the best mixtapes of all time.
We'll drop the link in the description.
Yeah, drop it. You'll find it.
Compilations that made it into the cut was the White Castle saga.
Oh yeah. I have never been to a White Castle, but the reviews based on this on Survivor Michigan made me not want to go.
Good.
Okay, White Castle is
Saved you.
still like one of my number 1 top picks, fast food.
Hell yeah. Well, shout out to Sonio Lyoko. He likes White Castle and he's a super fan. So what up, Sonio? I know you like them sliders. He's gonna appreciate that one.
Well, how much do you guys know about some of your compatriots who are not in this podcast because they're on All Stars. So I didn't invite anybody from All Stars really. Jackson, Megan, Tom, Adam. Do you guys know anything about how they did on All Stars? Maybe just Ivy and Katie should answer. And because I feel like they're the ones who don't know what happened.
I have no idea.
So
wait, so it's Megan, Jackson,
Adam, and Tom. They are
my god. I feel like all of them would do so well.
Who do you think would do the best if you had to pick one?
Tom.
I was thinking Tom.
Really?
Why?
I think Megan.
You guys got any rationale,
No, I just want Tom to do well.
I will say before when All Stars applications came out, when I was in New York, I met up with Jackson and Megan one time, and they were both really trying to put talking me up at All Stars, and they were like, Ivy, can you put in a good word with the producers to see if they accept us? So after that interaction, I'm like, they're trying too hard. Like, it's not going to work out right.
They try hard.
Well, Camila and Katie, you guys both applied for All Stars, right?
Yeah.
Snubbed.
Did I?
Katie, you're like,
It was late.
You like sort of did, but it was like kind of after we'd already cast, basically.
Yeah, it was something like that. Yeah.
So that was a bummer. Camila, how devastated were you when you were not cast? As all of the fans were when they heard you were not going to be on it.
I was really sad, but I mean, looking back, I'm glad I wasn't on it. But yeah, in the moment, it really hurt my feelings. But I felt it. I kind of felt it because I remember. I don't know if you remember this, Matthew, but you were the one interviewing me, and I just felt. I remember feeling the interview went so afterwards. I was like, it was a flop. I knew I did so bad, and I think it was because you were interviewing me, I felt so uncomfortable talking myself up because I was like, he voted me out. There's nothing I can say to be like, oh, I was great, I deserve it because you just fully voted me out.
No.
And so I remember feeling I didn't know how to talk about myself because I was like, me, it's weirder.
Yeah, in retrospect, it's kind of bogus that Matthew was interviewing you. That seems like
I think it was just the only one available. But I will say the interviews for All Stars mattered very little. Just in general.
Well,
Yeah, that was my hot take on All Stars relevant to season 4 cast is pretty much, I think we were super snubbed. I mean, I was on production for a hot minute, maybe a week until I got kicked off effectively. And I just thought that everything was super political and cliquey, and the season 4 people were not getting a fair shot in the casting. Yeah.
Dale, I can't tell. Do you not like production? That's the vibe I'm getting.
Yeah,
especially the All Stars production that just really pissed me off. But
are you not a fan of the
chatting with you about this, Dale, about season 4 and All Stars when they were casting and doing?
Yeah, I think we were chatting. We're like, how is this fair? This is we need representation of season, because really season 4 didn't have a lot of the returning players were either gone or on the season, and then there was just other people just didn't give a shit. Kat wasn't going to be a voice, so
yeah,
I think Elise and I were the only two really representing us, and our voices were just smashed by the power of previous seasons.
Matthew was around.
I helped get Tom and Adam and Camilla. I had not seen your confessionals yet, so I feel like I was sort of in the dark on that in terms of how good your confessionals were, and if I had seen them, definitely would have put you in the cast and done everything I could. But I feel like I stood up for season 4 as best I could. So
I agree overall that I also think season 4 got a bit of a raw deal. Somebody asked if Dale still keeps the Swag Daddy brand alive.
Of course, here. I think that people have seen this before, right? Where are you? Oh, here's my sweet Soul Survivor airbrush hat, obviously. Here's my wife's hat that I got made for her, swag wife, Avi. And then we got the Swag Daddy. Ooh, wear this thing out all the time. And then last but not least, my other nickname that never came up on the show, Weasel F. Johnson.
So I haven't even heard of that one.
Where do you get your trucker hats made?
There was actually a wedding I was at where they had an airbrush artist just making hats for their favors. And I just asked the guy, like, can you make me like 10 of these? And he just kept making more trucker hats, and it was dope. So,
Well, on that note, I feel like, oh wait, did we just lose Matthew? Interesting. Well, I was about to wrap it up anyways, so I guess Matthew
he
was
is.
just saying, about to wrap it up. It was great to see all you guys. Hope it was good reminiscing, and stay tuned and look forward to all you guys should watch All Stars, because it's gonna be super awesome.
Watch season 4 in the lead up to, because you can't watch All Stars without season 4.
That's right.
So,
Rewatch season 4 and then watch All Stars.
there you go.
So
Thank
yeah.
you, Ian.
Howdy.
Hi, Ian.
How's it going?
Pretty good. How are you?
I'm good.
Good.
What time?
I'm glad.
What time is it there?
It's like almost 9.
Oh, so not too bad.
No, definitely not.
Okay, so basically, I just like wrote up some questions from various stuff.
Okay.
And I'll just ask you them.
Okay.
And then I'll just like splice it into the other thing.
Okay, cool. Sorry I couldn't be there again.
No,
Whoops.
no worries. No worries. It was honestly a bit crowded, so it was fine. First of all, like, how are you doing? Like, what have you been up to these days, since Survivor Michigan ended, or since the show came out?
Yeah, what have I been up to? So I'm currently in grad school in Dublin. I'm doing a program in public history and cultural heritage, which has been really interesting. And I have not been watching a lot of reality TV, unless you count Sister Wives, which I've been watching a lot of. But yeah, just like trying to figure out what to do with my life. Yeah.
Sweet. And could you explain what led to your mysterious disappearance from the recorded podcast the other night?
Oh
by
yeah.
chance?
So yeah, I wasn't at the recording of the podcast because I was asleep. Obviously I'm in Ireland, and so there's a pretty big time difference, and yeah, I like went to the pub with some of my classmates after class, and then I got home and I was like, it's fine, I just need to sleep, and I'll set an alarm and wake up for the podcast. And then I overslept past that alarm until the morning.
So one of the things we were talking about on the podcast and just in general was a lot of the beef that the cast had with the production team.
Oh yeah.
So do you have anything that you could add to this discussion? Or do you remember, any of your thoughts on how the production did throughout?
Granted, I think like my experience was maybe a little unique, one, because I'm like so cool and nice. But also I was like in the emotional throes of it. And so I did have a lot of like the people in production who were like checking up on me and reaching out to make sure I was doing okay. Because again, it was a really hard semester for me emotionally. And so that was like, I like feel like me personally, I had a relatively positive experience, but the disorganization in general of the season made it just like, not to be like, there was just like so much chaos. And it was like, the most annoying thing was like sitting at a tribal council and like it being intense for you, and like the 19 producers that are in there all like whispering amongst themselves. Like, well, someone is out there like writing your name down and voting for you. Like that was not fun for anyone. And it was also like, this could have been done with 3 people. We didn't need 12 angles. Ian editing it didn't need 12 angles of everything, like shot on your iPhone 8, relax. But I like definitely have some like fond memories of production, but definitely like it wasn't pleasant overall. I get why other people had bigger beef. Like for me, I was like, whatever, I'll just show up. But then I was annoyed at the time, but then as soon as I left, I was fine.
That makes sense. Yeah. So you applied to be the host for season 5. Could you talk a little bit about what went into that decision, or like, were you, bummed when you didn't get the job, or just anything about that process?
Yeah. I applied to be host in part because I was like, it would be really cool for there to be a female host. And I felt like all the people who I could think of as being good hosts were people who were definitely going to play. You know what I mean? Like I think Leia would have been a cool host. And like, there's a bunch of like, what?
Yeah, I agree.
Okay. Yeah. Like there's like some really cool, or even like, one of the Emilys, like there's just like loads of cool people who I think would be good hosts, but all of them were going to play All Stars. And so I was like, I might as well apply, see what that's like. But I remember like, I don't know, I like didn't have the same relationships with the people who were making the decisions. And I knew that I seemed a little, I don't want to say neurotic, but like I was insane during our season, like at least in the videos. Like every week I experienced every single emotion possible, especially near the end. And so I definitely see why they like turned in other directions. Like they knew Brady super well. Even the other people that were considered were like, obviously like very good, very competent potential hosts, but also who had better relationships with people than I did. Like, I know that I was not seen as one-dimensional, but I was not like a full personality that could then be trusted to like show up every week and be like clever while hosting. And I think looking back, I'm like, it would have been a really tough time commitment for me personally. Because I'm lazy. That's the main reason. But also I like was playing ice hockey at the time and I would have had to probably quit, which would have just been a tough decision for me to make.
So after that, did you ever consider like playing on All Stars, or was that like out the window for you pretty much like the entire time?
It was out the window for me pretty much the entire time. The one thing that made me reconsider a little bit was that Tom wrote that like ode to cast Shannon. Do you know what I'm talking about?
Yeah. It's like a really long essay. It's on the
like
Google
a long
Drive still.
Essay about why I should be cast over other people in All Stars, because one, Tom would be my ally, but he was like, Shannon was a more dynamic player, like all these things. And like that I would have considered. Like me and Tom would be an iconic alliance. And
I don't know why Tom felt the need to write that. It's not like you would not have been cast if you had applied.
I know, but it was so iconic. Like, yeah, again, if I would have applied, I like, no, I would have I mean, what can I say? But I think that would have, I mean, like, I knew I didn't want to play because I was like in emotionally rough shape after playing. And also it was just like, it was so unexpected. Like every single thing that happened was like very unexpected. I like did not expect to like form good relationships. I didn't expect to like get so far. I didn't expect to feel as emotionally invested in the game. And I didn't expect to like, I mean, like by the end, I was like, I knew I was going to lose, but it like was really tough for me to accept that. And like, even reflecting on that, I'm like, if I would have played All Stars and put myself through that again, and like, again, All Stars is like intense, like loads went on, so many cool and complex characters, like being people who I knew were going to play. And I was like, I don't know if I can deal with like, I just want to like hang out with people and like have fun with them. I don't want to hang out with them and then feel betrayed by our relationship.
No, that's fair. I mean, there was more tears, I believe, during All Stars than all the other seasons put together. So
yeah. And if I would have been there, it would have been tougher.
Looking back on Survivor Michigan now, has time changed like your view of pretty much anything to do with it, or is there anything about it now that you feel like you would do differently as just a more older, mature person, or I don't know, having watched it back now or something?
That's a good question. I think like genuinely looking back, I probably would have done almost all of the same things, but I would have maybe played it again. I wouldn't have been able to. Okay, you're right. If I were to play again right now, same season as myself and the person I am, it would certainly look a lot different, in part because I don't think that I would like get so emotionally caught up with things. Like I do have a bad habit of like overthinking, which when you're playing Survivor, like is so bad. Sometimes it's good, but then other times it's like you have no control. And also tribal councils in 4 days or like in 8 days. So like, could you chill? Like I remember I was at home for Easter before, like I like went home for Easter right after our final challenge. And I like spent all of Easter weekend crying. And my mom was like, you need to quit. And I was like, Mom, there's 1 week left or like whatever, you know? And so definitely like reflecting, I think I would have probably tried to figure out a way to like separate myself from the game better. But I don't think that I would have like made any different decisions. I like probably would have been a little nicer in my confessionals. And I like maybe would have like not ever just like spoken to Matthew or Jackson. Like no offense to them. But like I mean I would have spoken to them, but like I would have done something more with Jack Tiggleman. I love Jack Tiggleman. Jack Tiggleman, my friend now, and just a funny goofy guy. And I like wish I would have gotten closer with like him and Ben and stuff, like people on the other tribe that were cool. Because like our tribe was lame, other than like Ivy and Kat. Am I right though? Like I was cool. Ivy and Kat were cool. Aliza was cool. R.I.P. Aliza's my queen. I mean, not R.I.P. She's still alive, but like, I would have told Aliza to play her idol, but I didn't even know she had it. Anyway,
That was a good answer.
watching the seasons back, here's what I would have done: is I would have worn better outfits. Can you put that in? I would have dressed better. But like I wore like the same like 6 shirts that just like got nasty because I would be like in my room and I wouldn't think about the fact that like this is going on to YouTube and I like look like a scrub. And I also got in a routine of wearing my hair the same every day, which I thought was funny. But then I like watching it back, I'm like, I look the same in all of these. I look the same in every single video because I'm like breaking out with bad acne because I'm so stressed. And I haven't ate anything other than oatmeal in 3 days. Like, and my hair's in double braids. Yeah, I would have ate better. I would have trained my body better. That's how I would have won a challenge, Ian. Oh my gosh. People forget that I didn't win an individual challenge.
Brutal. Would you ever consider going on the real Survivor?
No. I hate swimming. I'm just not good at it. And like it would be funny for the bit. Like it would be funny to go on Survivor Blood versus Water, like with my sister and be like a celebrity, you know, like and be funny on TV. But I'm like, I would rather be on a different reality show at this point. One that's like less emotionally taxing. Like I'll go on Family Feud. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
That makes sense.
I'll go on Love Island.
Oh yeah, that's not emotionally taxing.
Right.
So last March we held this fan favorite March Madness poll through all of March where people voted on their favorite Survivor Michigan players, and you won the whole contest. You defeated Sarah Z, Liz, you know, Tarowski, Maggie, tons of huge fan favorites. So how do you feel about that? And just that you were named the biggest fan favorite of the whole series?
Oh my gosh. One, incredibly exciting. Also like 2, my sister did like too much campaigning. She was like very bored at the time. And so her campaigning was like sending messages to every member of our extended family and being like, tell everyone to vote for Shannon on this Twitter poll. And they would do it. Like my grandparents, who are like 90, were voting for me in this poll. I mean, because inevitably I am the fan favorite. But what I didn't realize was that my sister was telling all of my family to tell everyone they knew. And so like my neighbors for days would be like, what did I vote for you on Twitter for? And I would be like, what are you talking about? I would have to explain to people that I did Survivor Michigan, which was sort of surreal in terms of like being like, haha, yeah, watch a video of me eat a worm on YouTube if you want. Like that was definitely the vibe. But it was also like just funny. I mean, there are so many like icons of Survivor Michigan, in my opinion. But knowing that I was the number one, it was a good ego boost after like watching what was like, it was tough to watch season 4, but I was glad that the fans and also my family, you know, got to celebrate one victory with me, even if I didn't get a victory during the season.
Yeah. Well, I know for pretty much a fact that Liz and Sarah Z also had people campaigning for them. So I think that, you know, if
my
you were
campaign was a bit stronger, maybe.
Yeah, if there was some, you know, fake mail-in ballots or whatever, it seems like it was a collective across the board sort of issue.
Right.
What else? Is there any like kind of random beef or like behind the scenes tea that people might not know that you can recall from the season or just otherwise?
I like know that like after Ivy got voted out, one of my good friends like was her cousin was Ivy's best friend. And she like brought it up to me multiple days. She was like, Ivy's having a really tough time after being voted out. Ivy hates you. And I would have to be like, okay. It's like Shannon like is already upset about this, in an emotionally vulnerable place about this. And now I'm being told that like Ivy is telling people that she hates me. And like that was tough, but not proper beef. I remember being so mad about though Jackson and the fake clue. Finding the fake clue that he made for the advantage was so exciting.
Oh yeah, that didn't even make it on the show.
It didn't even make it on the show. So many things didn't make it on the show. My tennis references. That's what I beef with the editors, aka you, for not including. I was really into tennis, and I like doctored up some great tennis references in the tribal council when I ate the worm.
I'll want to put in the full one day. I want to release the full bread video and the full tennis video, because they were really the tennis one is really, really funny. I just thought that it was less accessible if you don't know tennis.
The tennis was also like, I was clearly just like, I had been talking to my mom and my sister a lot, who like both are really into tennis and professional tennis. So like, that's why I talked about it. So like anything that I spoke about on the show was because it was like relevant to my personal life at the time.
Were you also baking bread all the time?
I guess I was eating a lot of bread, I'm sure. Yeah. But like now that Federer is retiring.
I know. Are you a Federer fan? Like, is that bumming you out?
I mean, it's like sad because he's a legend. I mean, and Serena. I can't even get into it.
Cooper and I went to the US Open. We saw one of Serena's last matches.
Oh my
God.
gosh.
I think Cooper actually went to the very last match. I went to the one before that. We both went before that, and then Hugh also went to the last one.
Oh my gosh. I would vomit. I would scream, shake, and cry. I wouldn't know what to do.
It was pretty sweet.
I'm jealous of Cooper. But also, wow. She's such a legend. Anyway. Yeah. I don't have any like proper beef though. Like, I mean, looking back, it was like a tough time, but also like give myself some credit. I was in sophomore in college.
Yeah.
Which is like, again, the worst time of your life.
Sophomore year, the worst time of year. Do you think it's worse than sophomore year of high school?
For me it was. No, that's maybe not true. I don't know. Sophomore year of high school, I was nominated homecoming princess.
Oh.
And then sophomore year of college, I cried every day. So
but what's better? Homecoming princess or second place in Survivor Michigan?
Ooh, who knows? I don't know. I looked pretty funny in the edit, and so maybe Survivor Michigan.
Yeah, I think you were definitely number one in the fans' hearts. That's for sure.
And that's what matters most for me.
So is there anything else you feel like you need to get off your chest about this experience or anything?
No, I don't think so. I mean, I think like if anyone has the opportunity to like do something like even a college version of Survivor, participate in any way, and they're in an emotionally stable enough place, they should try it, because it's like such a cool adventure, but also just like it's really cool to see that people like care enough to develop so much, and it creates like a good community for people. I wasn't really ever a part of the Survivor Michigan community, I'll say it, but it like let me meet a lot of fun, fascinating people, and that's cool. So, and it's like such a cool experience to tell people about. Like, put it on my resume, put it on my LinkedIn. If you need me, you can find me on YouTube. I'm an internet micro celebrity. Sorry. That's my final parting words. I am an internet micro celebrity, and I ate a worm on YouTube, which my friends bring up to this day. My friends anyway, that was beside the point, but my friends bring up me eating the worm a lot.
That's a pretty wild moment. It really comes out of nowhere too. Like, yeah. You guys are all just sitting there, and then suddenly it's just like, oh my God, Shannon's just eating a worm. Like, what the fuck is going on?
I know. And I was like wearing safety goggles at that tribal council. I like looked insane, and then I ate a worm. And then we just voted Nate out.
That's
Like,
iconic. That's an iconic moment, I have to say.
yeah, pretty good.
Well, thank you for coming on to talk to us.
Of
And
course.
hope everything's going awesome with you.
Thank you.
Who we got?
Just me.
Oh, fun. I have a few clips prepared.
Interesting. But I'm assuming one of them is Will.
Yeah. I wish I could have had time to do more, like a more comprehensive look through. So I only like found the few things I could remember off the top of my head. At some later date, honestly, maybe after All Stars is done and we do like season 4, just like bonus footage or something dump, like just there should just be a compilation of season 4 players and cast just crew just beefing. It would be so funny. Brady, what's up, dude?
We got a little squad today.
Yeah, this should be spicy.
This should be like, so are we talking about production for season 4?
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, I'm into it.
Hey,
Will, how's it going?
Well,
Hi, how you doing?
Still waiting on Richard. Oh, there he is.
You're waiting on me because you didn't send me the link until 30 seconds ago. Don't blame me for this again.
My bad.
Because you're not in the group chat, Richard.
I guess, I don't know. I guess
because you made an iMessage group chat.
It's because putting
Oh,
Android
yeah.
people in my group chats messes up my phone. Like, so I was just like,
Apple's fault.
it is Apple's fault. But like every time I do that, it like when I send messages, it won't send to like, it'll just send to people individually and create a bunch of like splinter threads and cause all kinds of problems. So
Oh, I remember I got one of those from you the other day.
yeah.
Richard, you're still facing the Android fallout 4 years later.
I know. It's so sad.
Well, we've got a lot of season 4 to get into, so let's get started here. So basically, I'm gonna edit this after the fact, so don't worry if you say anything like that you can be like off the cuff or whatever. I'm gonna like trim it down and stuff. There's no need to worry about that. And we'll just go through a few different subjects that I have. I have a few clips that we're gonna watch that we can discuss, and then we're good.
Oh wait, you got clips?
Got a few clips.
Not
See,
clips.
want to see people's reactions?
Boy.
Yeah, we may have some cat footage in the works. All right, so welcome everyone to the Survivor Michigan Wolverine Wars crew reunion podcast. We have quite the panel here today to talk about what was, and as far as I know, remains the wildest behind the scenes drama of a Survivor Michigan season. So let's introduce everybody and say who you are and what your role on the season was.
what up? I'm Cooper. I was the host for season 4. This is my last season hosting. RIP. And it was definitely an interesting one. So we went out with a bang on production side. Had a blast.
Yeah, my name's Brady. You guys know who I am. On season 4, I was part of the one of 2 challenge making teams, but there was a lot of different challenge stuff going on. But yeah.
Hi, I'm Will. For season 4, I was on the challenge committee on, I believe it was team 2 or maybe team B. I don't know if it was A and B or 1 and 2.
It was 1 and 2 because me and Aaron and Chloe's group chat to this day is challenge team squad 1.
Okay.
Right, and just to be clear, you guys were on different challenge squads.
Yes.
Okay, this is gonna be important later.
Because I think it was me. I think so. It was me, Chloe, and Aaron were 1, and then I think was it you, Emily, P, and
No, because Emily switched committees.
Yeah,
so
it was
him,
Emily
Sarah,
Paddock
and
originally and Sarah, and then Emily left and someone else who I don't even remember his
It was
name.
Riley?
joined. Riley. Okay.
Who is Riley? I've never
the
heard
guy
of
who
this person.
slept through the whole finale party.
So who is he?
Sarah
I don't know
Minnis-
who that is.
He's friends with Sarah.
Oh,
Interesting.
Yeah.
Oh, and Kevin was on our team. He was like the exec lead. What
Oh,
did
Kevin
Bree
and
lead
Bree.
team 1 and Kevin lead Bree 2?
No,
Wasn't-
Kevin and Bree were just the challenge.
Yeah, we just I think oversaw both sides.
Both sides. Okay.
Yeah.
If any of the viewers are curious, yes, actually producing the season was just as confusing as this conversation. Thank you.
All All right, Katie, what were you doing on the season?
Yeah, that's a great question. I was in Ireland this semester. So I was not in person. I did help with casting. I helped formulate the committees and try to organize production before I left. And I was technically head of marketing. So I was actually mostly working on social media for season 1, which was airing during this season.
Hi, I'm Erin. I was also on the challenge committee. I was on team 1 with Brady and Chloe.
Yeah, I'm Richard. I was the director of photography. I don't know if we want to get into that as a subject later.
Of course. Of course we will.
If you want me to just explain that now, but that's what I did.
I'm Bree, and as we said earlier, I was the challenge exec. So I oversaw the complications of the challenge committee.
And last but certainly not least, Akshay, what was your role on this season?
Sure. I think officially my role was like something on the logistics committee that Cooper was the lead of along with Crouch. Actually, my role turned into just a repeat of season 3, where I just got Sarah X FaceTimed into as many things as I possibly could.
So let's start off basically with season 4 comes around, the casting of season 4. How did we decide on the tribe structures with the different majors and such? Does anyone remember, what went into that basically, or where that all came from?
I remember we casted them on casting day as if we were going to have 4 tribes of 4. That was the plan until I think the first day, and then it switched. Like I think we went into the first day not knowing not having really decided if we were doing 2 tribes or 4.
So how is the 4 tribes of 4 going to work?
I think we did decide by the first day because challenge committee did have to base the challenge on knowing the fact that 2 tribes.
Like, what was the idea? What was the 4 tribes idea?
It was gonna be more, so the tribe division actually shook out as like North Campus versus Central Campus, but we were actually doing it more by like actual major divisions. So like we had an engineering, we had a like SMTD, we had a kind of like humanities, and then we had a kind of like sciences, like LSA sciences, I believe, or no, like the Ross.
Business, it was like Ross business.
So those were more so going to be our 4 tribes, but we were like, maybe tribes of 4 are not a good idea.
And we kind of based it on the 4 returners and like knowing what their thing was. So like high key, they should feel very flattered that we based the season around them. Like
and you can see it in the first episode. You can see that we split them up for like the first half hour and then sent them off into their tribes. But
we really didn't want to let go of that concept because we had like the 4 majors. It was like, 2 of the majors are from North Campus, 2 of the majors are from Central Campus. So it was, and with each representative on the returning tribes, and we really wanted that to work, but with it only being 16 people, I think we knew right away that we'd have to just kind of dissolve it right away. So we kind of tried to go in 2 different directions at the same time, and it kind of just, we weren't really great at either of those 2 directions that we didn't want to let go of. And it affected the casting process too, I think, in a somewhat unfortunate way. Because I remember sitting at, I think, Cooper and Ian's house in the living room, and there were all these names up on a board, and we were kind of like haphazardly, grouping people into the engineers, the SMTDs, the LSA, and like the accounting and Ross people. And we were making a lot of like casting decisions like, this person is just got to go because we have too many engineers, because we really want this 4 theme to work. And then, I don't know, ultimately there were probably a few people that we really liked that we didn't cast just because they didn't fit this theme that lasted for 5 minutes.
Yeah, I think the biggest issue was we had been talking about this theme, I think, as early as season 2. Like, we were so excited about, taking the schools on against each other. We kind of saw Maryland do it a little bit right around, I think, when this season was being cast. But we were all just like super excited about it. And I think that we just got so like singularly focused on it that it affected every decision we made. And then even like the 4 tribes of 4, like Erin mentioned, that would have never really worked because we were very worried, first tribal for each tribe would lead to a 2-2 tie. It was just, there was too many scary options of that happening. And then, the counter to that is, then just get 1 extra person, make it 5, but then it's uneven based on gender. Yeah, I don't even know if we had enough quality people based on the schools to make that happen. So it was just like a very complicated scenario where we were so focused on making it fit to this theme that it complicated every other step along the way and made for a very confusing start to our season before the season had even started.
Yeah, I think 4 tribes of 5 was actually the very, very first idea that was thrown out, just because then we could have all 4 tribes. But I think at the time, like having a cast of 20, we thought was a lot just from a scheduling perspective to fit it in a semester. And I think that was the main reason that I remember that we eventually moved it down to 16. And then from there, we were like, okay, we can't do 4 tribes. Now we have to do 2. And it just kind of like the domino effect happened. Yeah.
Yeah, I think definitely this was the culmination of, okay, we've now done 2 seasons with the same people on production, folding over into the next season, and a lot of stuff that we think we learned, but also trying to challenge ourselves and probably, like Akshay said, overcomplicated a lot of things.
So I was looking at the applications and I actually saw an interesting stat that besides there was like a rating scale, I guess, for all the people who applied. And besides the returning players who all scored perfect 10s, the highest graded person on this scale was actually myself. But yet somehow I was not on the season. So does anyone remember what happened with this?
My God.
Cooper, you want to talk about that one?
Yeah, Cooper, you want to talk?
Somehow I applied, but was not cast.
There are rumors of a sabotage, I think.
Yes, there are.
They're not rumors. They are very true statements of sabotage.
Yeah.
I said, and I stand by that Ian had at that point was editing or had said he was going to edit season 2. And I was like, he will get nothing done if he is playing this season. So I said, for that reason. And I also know he is very busy and is not here very many weekends. He's gone for mock trial a ton of weekends. So I was like, scheduling wise also could be an issue. So yes, I shot down that.
Anyone want to bring up the secondary reason, Cooper?
This is the reason that gets proposed, if you would like to say it. But
and the secondary reason, Ian, is that he did not want you against him on All Stars.
Yes, that's what I believe to be the case. I believe it was a torpedoing effect, knowing that if I played All Stars, I would just destroy Cooper at every turn. So it's a pretty unfortunate thing that happened there. But true story, Cooper also lied to me about this. After I was not cast, I was like, yo, Cooper, what was that about? And he was like, I don't know, dude. I had no say in it at all. Like he said, I recused myself because it was like the people I was involved with. So I just said, because a couple of our other roommates also applied. And he was like, I just gave no opinion on you guys. I don't know what happened. And then
that to be
it turned out Cooper was the one who had single-handedly torched my chances.
He went in hard too. I think he went in pretty hard. I remember there was like lots of messages about why we should not cast Ian.
Yeah,
I was gonna get cast if not for Cooper. I read.
I don't think it was single-handed. Like other people, I think Cooper certainly was the first to bring it up, but other people did agree and were like, "Yeah, that's true." But it was definitely like I think that was the first big division of season 4 prod was like, should we cast Ian? Because there were definitely the 2 camps there.
Yeah.
And I would say Cooper definitely sent the longest messages regarding why not.
I had the most.
Wait, Ian, didn't your audition stuff come in really late too? Because I remember we'd already been going through everything and ranking everything. And then I remember there being a bomb of like Ian's application coming in way after the fact. Like, does this ring any bells?
I don't know. I can't speak to that. I have no.
Like, I didn't know you personally that well at the time. And I remember just being like, I don't know who this guy is. And this is way later than everything else.
Okay, but that's also not like an automatic out. Dale's application was also late. Dale's application.
I will say that my application was like the answer to every question was like so that I can beat Cooper, like so that I can destroy Cooper.
Yeah.
Like it was pretty explicit.
And I didn't get that. I was like, what? Okay, who is this guy?
I remember like there was a whole argument whether to cast you or not, and I was like, why are we having this argument? This application is clearly a joke because you were just shitting on Cooper during every.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, I agree.
Regardless, it really hurt me and it robbed me of my chance to play Survivor, which I never got to do. It was pretty upsetting because I knew that season 4 was the only one I'd be able to do because senior year I was doing an honors thesis and I'd be way too busy. So Cooper robbed me of my shot and I probably would have won All Stars, true story, if Cooper had cast me on season 4. I would have won season 4 and All Stars. So
I agree.
But instead, we'll never know, I guess, how I would have done. But let's talk about some people who did get cast. do any of you guys remember there being any particular people you were super excited about seeing, or how you thought they were going to do before it started? Like for like, how did Kat and Aaron get cast is a question we got.
So we were actually, those two were actually two of the highest, like
I think those were the
highest
top
ranking
two.
coming
How
out
did
of
you not
apps,
cast Kat and
coming out of
Aaron?
interviews, because we were like, Aaron's interview was so funny. Like she was just so like, because we were doing this whole like theme based on the majors. So we were like, oh, we're gonna get some like super nerdy engineers. But Aaron was an engineer, but she was so not that. Like we were like, we have Tom. Like we need somebody to kind of like show the other side of engineering. And Erin was just so funny. So like she said in her interview, like, oh, I want to get into showmance or like things like that. It was so good. And then Kat was like,
Aaron, stop complimenting yourself. It's getting weird now.
but then Kat was like, she was also just so good. Kat was actually brought in by Brady because she was roommates with Brady's girlfriend at the time.
Yeah, Kat was roommates and best friends with my girlfriend at the time. And I was like, Kat, kind of crazy. You should play Survivor. I remember like sitting in their sorority house and being like, Kat, I want you to apply right now, fill it out, and like force her to do it.
And you can see it in her confessionals. Like she comes off so like brazen and like you're like, that is somebody that is like made for TV. And her interview was incredible. It was all fantastic. So those were honestly like the two people I feel like we were most excited about on the cast.
I was really excited for Megan because I thought it was great to have another grad student, and she just seemed so sweet that I just wanted to see her playing with all of these psychopaths.
So almost instantly there was complaints from the cast about unfairness in the challenges from the very first challenge. So let's just start with the very first challenge.
Pickles.
The pickle challenge.
I have a lot to say about this.
So the pickle challenge, as a recap for people who might not be aware, basically you were allowed, the challenge was that you were meant to toss pickles across the diag. And somehow Tokidoki was allowed to just hand them to each other, which allowed them to do it way faster than
Yeah, because Kevin told them they could.
We were like, hey, maybe we should do more than one pickle at once. And we were like, no, they said don't look for loopholes. They said one pickle at a time. So then, Toki fucking Doki over here starts passing them 6 by 6, and we're confused as fuck, and we don't know what's going on.
So my question is, how come this was allowed to happen? Do you think that was, fair? Do you think
No.
had any legitimate?
We didn't have any rules at first for who was going to be like the challenge director. Like there was no like final say person that was in charge of the rules. So it was still just, it was people who weren't even on the challenge committee still just like shouting out rules.
That was true.
I think the biggest issue may have been this was our first time with like a proper exec structure. Like we had a sort of exec for season 3, which was just like the 5 people that carried over from season 2 and not an actual exec. This one had like exec applications, exec interviews, like, and then these execs were then separated into like logistics and challenges and advantages. And it was just so like it was almost like back to the first challenge of season 2, which also had like its chaotic moment, but season 2 was just way more like, oh, it's okay, it's fine. It was their first time doing it. Season 4 was also sort of like our first time because it was the first time in this format. And it was like, I think, half of our production was season 3. So it was half of their first time too. And season 4 players were not nearly as nice or kind or welcoming or forgiving of any mistakes we had. So that just led to a whole cluster bleep.
Yeah.
So was Kevin
A cluster
someone-
bleep indeed.
Would we say that Kevin had the authority to, dictate the rules of this challenge?
He was
okay,
the
the
other
issue
challenge
was, Kevin did have it. There was the issue of like people not in the challenge committee who like didn't even plan the challenge, who were like trying to give out rules. It was like, you don't even know what we're trying to do. So why are you talking right now? But Kevin did go to a different tribe and answer the question incorrectly or correctly. We just should have given both tribes the same instructions. So that's why we ended up changing the format of how like we're like there's gonna be one challenge head and they're answering like any questions to the whole group right away. Like we changed it in the future, but it was just like very chaotic. I feel like first days was like a lot of excitement, energy too. So people are like more like production does kind of mess up a little bit on those first days. We're getting used to like the new cast members, and there's like a lot of moving parts. Could we like the returners coming in and like there was a lot happening. So I think it was just like chaotic, but yeah, Kevin did say the wrong things, and we didn't, for whatever reason, we didn't allow the other tribe to also copy, or we did eventually let them copy, but they should just copy to begin with. I feel like in the past, if tribes just start doing the same thing as other tribes, we were like, okay, whatever, like it is what it is.
Before we get too much deeper into the challenges, this was the first season where we had a director of photography specifically. So Richard, would you like to talk about how that came about, what that was all meant to be?
Wait, first, can Richard explain the imaginary line to us?
I think she's talking about the 180-degree rule. Yeah.
Oh yeah. Okay. So there's a lot. No, all right, we're not gonna do that. So this is why it happened. It's because Matthew Israel, right? We were at the party for season 3, like the rap party, and he decided to show Savu Savu, a rough cut of season 3. Just like the first episode, right? And I was watching this and I was like, this is filmed horribly. This is so bad. And I was like a sophomore film major and I thought I was like a film genius. So I was like, you know what? I'm going to like figure this out. I'm going to make it the best show of all time. And
did you?
Well, that's up for debate. I guess you have to watch it and decide. But there were some good things. There were some bad things. I think doing the slow-mo intros was a good idea.
Yeah, that was sick.
I think overall it ended up looking better, but I don't know if it was worth it at the expense of the amount of effort it took. So like before every challenge, I would do my best to like have people filming where I wanted them to be filming and like say, okay, this person's here, you'll be filming that way. Because I didn't like in season 3 how you would always see production members like running around in the background. So I wanted to like minimize that as much as possible. And I think it ends up looking a little bit better. You're able to kind of tell what's going on in challenges more. But I did end up yelling at a lot of people. I was very chaotic.
Emily, get in position.
I didn't like do a great job of explaining. And people decided they didn't want to listen to me sometimes. But it was really funny. And then I actually was gonna edit the whole thing. Like I was always planning on editing season 4. And then I spent like all summer, like after we filmed in the winter semester. So I spent all spring and summer editing it. Then my hard drive got corrupted. And at that moment in the summer, I also had decided to switch majors. So I was like, okay, I'm going to be taking 3 math classes in the fall and a computer science class because I'm switching majors. I'm trying to do an entire data science major in 2 years. I'm not going to have any time to do anything. So, you know what? I'm done. I'm done with this. It was the last straw. Like if I stayed a film major and it was actually something I could like put on my resume or something, then I would have like kept at it. But I was like, you know what? I just can't do it. It's not going to be good if I do it. So I'm going to let the master Ian Harris edit.
Yeah, I remember distinctly basically going into All-Stars, the plan was, all right, I had just finished season 2. And when I agreed to do All-Stars, I pretty much knew I would have to do season 3 because no one there was no plan for season 3, but everyone was like, don't worry though, Richard's got season 4 covered. He's been talking about it forever. Like it's going to be his baby. It's going to be great. And I was like, oh, sick. So I won't have to do that one. And then one day out of nowhere, you just messaged me and you're just like, yo, bro, like, by the way, I'm just out. So I
think I messaged everyone. I don't think I just like messaged you, but
I think you sent a message in the big group chat and you said,
it was the big group chat.
Yeah, you were like, I'm happy to know that this project will like be continued by people who like have the time for it. And I was like, by people, you mean me, but that's fine.
Yeah.
But
I just knew that if I did it, it would either suck or I would fail out of all my classes. So I had to make a decision.
But yeah, what you got? I think you got to explain this line thing. What's the imaginary line?
Oh, I was just explaining how you can't when you're filming something, you have to film it from one side. You can't film it from 360 sides if you have cameras on both sides because it looks dumb if you're filming at the other cameras. That's all it was.
We had one challenge. It was the one where the contestants were doing like card towers. And I distinctly remember like they were put in like some sort of semicircle or a circle. No, it was like a full circle.
Yeah, it was a full circle.
But Richard was still trying to implement that like line rule. And we were like, okay, we literally cannot film everybody.
Gonna take the
if we're
line and we're gonna
doing
wrap
that.
it into a circle around
Right.
the tables.
Yeah.
Also, yeah, we had people literally like, yeah, circling around, but it was like, as somebody who is like a fan of College Survivor and like loves watching College Survivor, I love seeing people from past seasons like filming and helping out with production. I think that that is so fun. And it was quite frustrating to like not be getting all of the angles and not be getting anything, because like I feel like you're losing out on a lot of footage that way too. But I will say some of the funniest things during the season that I saw was like Richard would always, after somebody got voted out, he would like sprint out of the room and sprint down the hallway so he could get a shot of them walking out. And he would just like Cooper would snuff the torch and then Richard would just take off. Like he was gone.
You'd also
some
make
of those
them
made
walk.
it in the episode. It was great because you would just see like someone following, and then the camera would just turn around and start running, and it was great.
You would also make the people walk so far because the people would be trying to do their like final words confessional, and you would just be like, go, keep going until eventually letting them come back and talk to you.
There, just keep walking.
I just got voted out. Are you fucking kidding me?
Because you wanted these long shots of the people leaving, and it did make for some cool shots, like especially in the Eliza episode where she goes home. I remember it was very emotional because we had these long shots of Eliza walking down the hallway.
Hey, I figure 10 seconds of pain for a posterity, you know?
No, it was great. Yeah.
Keep walking.
Let's move on to some other challenge controversy. Oh, let's talk about Kat before we get to the next challenge. Actually, we have Kat's cheating. So I can't believe I almost forgot about this. So this whole thing, Kat got a penalty vote, the first time this has ever happened in Survivor Michigan. Like what led into that? Like what was that all about? Were there any? I remember there was some big arguments over what to do about it.
It initially had the lamest penalty in the history of penalties. It was like Kat didn't want to show up to most challenges anyways, and then her tribe had to sit out someone for the next challenge anyways because they had an advantage. And the penalty that I think exec came up with was, oh, we're just gonna force that tribe to sit Kat for that challenge. And I was like, that's not a penalty. That's one, they would have done that anyways. Like that's just an advantage to Kat because now she won't even be like, if she sucks at the challenge, she won't even. And I think it was like a reward challenge. It wasn't even. It was like the Eric reward, like to get Eric, not even to like the watermelon challenge. It was just like the dumbest. No offense, but the dumbest penalty ever.
No, this is a no holds barred. Like
it was just like, and so I
game.
remember there was like just message after message after message in the production group chat of this. Basically, this penalty sucks. This penalty sucks. This penalty sucks. And I just threw in the meme of like Nick Fury from the Avengers. Like, I understand the council has made a decision, but given it's a stupid ass decision, I would like to ignore it. I just threw that in there. And like within 15 minutes of like the 8 to 10, this penalty sucks, exec went back and changed it to penalty vote. And I think everyone was like, oh, okay, that's sufficiently like, that's a sufficient penalty. We're cool now. Like, good job.
It was Kevin who wrote up the like official disciplinary proclamation, right? Because I remember it being really dramatic when I like read the document that was sent to her.
It was super dramatic for a really like nothing penalty, and we were just like, what the hell was that about?
Do you guys remember, like, was this your first inkling that Kat, was maybe not on board with production as a concept, or had there already been moments before that?
The production and the cast were already kind of beefing, because I remember with the severity of the punishment was like, we wanted to make it severe enough that it was like, stop doing what you're doing, but not severe enough that the cast would then continue to hate production more and be like, this is unfair. Now you're just like picking favorites, yada, yada, yada. So we wanted to try to find this weird balance, but I think what mostly made us like have to do something was the fact that we came to her and we said, we know you're not really doing this maliciously, please stop doing this, which was just talking to Aaron after they were voted out, because neither of them were really playing the game. Aaron didn't have any useful information. Kat wasn't playing the game anyway. It didn't really matter. But what pissed us off was when she basically came back and just was like, yeah, I'm going to keep doing what I'm doing. Screw you guys. And I think that was like oh, okay, this is, now there's an issue because we have the boundaries here.
I
And
think
I
she
think-
was like, Nate's a snake. Isn't that what she
Yeah.
told her?
Yeah.
Something about don't trust Nate. Yeah.
She's like, it's not even a big deal. All she told me was that Nate can't be trusted from her tribe. It's like, well, that is a big deal. And you don't care.
Like to echo kind of what Cooper said. Yeah, it was just like the lack of remorse, and like as someone who was her friend, like saw her outside the game, like I remember I was like designated as the producer to like go talk to her because I was her friend, and multiple times it was like, Kat, like you do understand this is wrong, right? You can't do it. And she's like, I don't give a shit. I'm like, no, who did I bring onto this cast? No. So yeah.
So this is going to bring us to our first clip.
Uh-oh.
So I sound biased, I know this, and salty because we lost both of the challenges that I happened to hate the most. I screamed about them a little bit in my own confessional. The first and third challenges were total garbage. They were poorly planned and poorly executed. The trivia challenge, you can't ask questions that have multiple answers, and that goes for both my tribe and the other tribe to give you a more unbiased take on it. I do think we had objectively harder questions, and I do think that pulling things from our applications is bullshit because you didn't release the applications to us to read, so you don't know that this is information that's accessible to us, but whatever. But when they asked who on like Team El Norte or Tribe El Norte did a polar plunge in 2013, like 3 of them had done a polar plunge in 2013, so they obviously all put themselves, and then the production was like, oh, well, we only knew about this one person who did it, so only people who voted for that person get it, which is fucking stupid. And also when they were like, who on your tribe has a Facebook status is married? Dale, because Dale is married, but you were like, oh, well, that's not the answer, because we decided that the only person who's allowed to have somebody who's allowed to have their Facebook status is married on your tribe is Eliza, and not Dale, who's actually married. So like, you can't have stupid questions like that in a trivia game. Like, it defeats the purpose of having a trivia game. There's one answer, and there wasn't only one answer to a bunch of the questions, so that was whack.
All right,
So the worst part is I agree with her.
Oh, I fully agree with her. She's right. Yeah, she's right.
Wrong. She's 100% correct.
Right.
Challenge.
She's right.
No, Will said
Cooper
she's
was
wrong.
done with
No.
everything
I said
about
she's
halfway
not
through that
wrong.
night.
Oh, she's not wrong. So no one thinks that she's doesn't have a point here.
Oh,
If that challenge happened on any of our seasons, we would have rioted.
Yeah.
Like equally as mad.
I
So
mean,
let's
this
talk about
was this was
what-
the beginning of a downward spiral for challenge committee team number 2.
Will, why don't you
Resulted
walk
in
us
one
through this?
resignation and one emotional resignation.
Yup.
So why don't you walk us through this? What led to this challenge, and how was it so poorly organized?
Oh God.
We just were sitting around shooting the shit, coming up with good ideas for questions, and it turns out they were all really bad ideas.
Wait,
I remember. I don't know if were we all together, or was this only planned by number 2? I don't
This
remember.
was-
Only y'all. I mean, to
I
be
did not
fair-
touch this. That's all I'm
Yeah,
gonna say.
to be fair, I
I did not
suppose
touch
Kevin and I could have double checked the questions and the answers, but we just assumed that they would be correct.
Yeah, I mean,
Like, how was Dale not the answer for who was married? That one always gets me.
Who's married on Facebook?
Yeah, no, that was wrong to not count the points for that. Like, wasn't that the polar vortex challenge too?
It was. It
Yes.
was the polar
Oh,
vortex
God, yeah.
challenge.
Okay,
Yeah.
so I remember when it was being made that it was initially proposed the full challenge should be tie 21.
Yeah.
yeah.
And I remember I was throwing a fit. I was like, that's not a full challenge.
Okay, but that's the only one Kat didn't complain about.
Yeah, that's true. But in the rest of the video, she says she didn't complain about it because
Because
her
they
team
won.
won that one.
Yeah.
Oh,
So
right.
that's her
For the
rationale.
viewers
They
at
went
home,
first,
there was
so you
actually
win
a
automatically.
third component to this
Oh.
challenge that
Yeah.
didn't make the edit.
We
Yeah,
cut
what's
out
insane.
tie 21. Can someone
From
else explain
Survivor
what it
Thailand.
is? I don't know what it is.
Yeah, it's from
Will?
Survivor Thailand. Basically, like there's 21 flags. We had 21 cups. You have to pick between 1 and 3 every time. Just every time you go up, you pick 1 and 3, and then whoever picks the last one wins, essentially.
But is it the problem with this that it's rigged?
It's rigged. If you
Well,
go first and leave it to a multiple of 4, you win.
The problem with it
It's
is-
rigged if you know how to play.
I
And
think
actually, neither team made the correct move to begin with. So as soon as
Yeah, and I told Will that the challenge was bad, so that's the start of Will and I having beef
think that
they didn't rig it.
the bigger problem too was that like I believe somebody said that like literally one of our like computer science classes or something teaches Tie 21. Like a class at Michigan literally teaches it. And so people were like, "Oh, that's a problem."
Okay,
Yeah,
I
so
don't
the
want to, I'm
original-
not going to sit here and defend Tie 21, but I will say that it's not like both the teams it's not like any of the teams were like, oh yeah, we know the solution to this algorithm to begin with. They both made the incorrect move on their first move.
Yeah.
So that's all I'll say.
I think what's really funny is that like that's the part of the challenge that like pre-challenge production had the most problem with, but like in the challenge, that's the one that went the best.
And then I cut that part out.
And then it got cut out.
Yeah, they got idle clues from that challenge, from that part of the challenge. Like,
Yeah, I cut
Matthew
those
figured
idle
it out
clues
like halfway
I cut those
through.
idle
No
clues
one gets any
also.
credit.
Yeah, but the questions, I mean, the trivia questions, I guess it was me, Emily Paddock, and Sarah Minnis sitting around coming up with questions. And I guess they were just really bad. And yeah, and I think Emily resigned after that challenge. And Sarah got a lot of the blunt of like anger from the cast members during the challenge, because I guess she was sort of like the challenge runner, I guess,
She
because
was
I feel
there
like
next
she was
to
fielding
Cooper,
the
I
rules.
think.
She was.
Like,
She
and
was
so
on
she was just
stage
kind of
next to
became the
Cooper.
face of that challenge. And
Mhm.
whenever there would be like a unilateral decision made, it would be like she was the challenge head, so she made it, and then because of that, she just got all the hate from the
She got fried by them, and I think it broke her spirit. Like she was because Emily left, and then Sarah was not the same with challenges after that moment.
Well, what the thing is too, like what should have happened is that when there were those answers that came up where it was like, oh, I'm sorry, we didn't know that other people had done this or that this answer applied to many people, we should have been like, oh, okay, then all of those are valid answers, even like because everybody did it. But instead, what happened was she was like, no, this is the answer we have. So
Yeah.
this is the only answer that's okay. And it's like, that is not exactly how it should have worked.
I remember because of the line. Most of the production was in literally a line in like the ramp on like one side of the room, and it was just basically Cooper and Sarah alone on the other side. So all of us were just like, okay, yeah, just count them all. It doesn't matter. And Cooper just kind of deferred to Sarah because that's what we said we were going to do. We were just going to defer to the challenge head. And she was like, no, this counts. And we were all just like, no, that's a terrible idea. She was like, I don't care. We're going with it. And so it was just like, just a total comedy of errors that just did not work well.
I just want to add, was this behind the scenes? This was Bree's birthday.
Yes, there was a bunch of drunk people in this challenge.
So
too.
everyone was hammered, which did
Everyone was
not
drunk.
help.
We went to
Yes.
Applebee's.
Yeah, we went to
during
Applebee's
the polar
after.
vortex.
He was hammered. I remember this now.
It was everyone was making really bad decisions that day.
All around bad.
Making
that's
also mind
Bree's
you, this day when this challenge was held, they canceled class for Michigan. It was the first time they canceled class in like 50 years. They never canceled class. It was like negative 20 degrees wind chill. It was like unsafe to go outside, and we drug everybody up to North Campus to do this
I
godforsaken
feel like
thing.
we asked and people were like, yeah, we might as well, like we don't have school, like let's make a challenge. But like mind you, like some people were probably like pre-gaming all day.
I think
Like
it was actually negative 20, like not even wind chill.
No, it was crazy.
it was
cold.
bad. It was
Yeah, it was like if
cold. I
you're
don't know why we
outside for
did
5
it.
minutes, you get
It was like
frostbite or
genuinely
something
not safe
ridiculous.
to be outside.
Yeah, we really shouldn't have.
Well, like to be fair, the challenge was inside.
Still, yeah, a lot of people have to take the bus and stuff to get there. Like,
I know, it was on North Campus.
Yeah.
We were in Sam's car. That man did not have proper heating in his car.
I was afraid his car wasn't going to start. Like, is it Applebee's? Was that the same day? I don't know.
Yeah, it was. We went
Yeah.
to Applebee's right after.
But unfortunately, this is not the end of this challenge. It actually brings us to our prod beef clip number 3.
Oh, there's more.
So
Please.
let's everybody take a
Uh,
watch of this one, and then we'll come back.
Real quick, I'm gonna hop out. This has been
All
a
right.
joy rehashing all of this with you that I didn't have to experience. So
Bye, Katie.
love
Bye,
you all.
Katie.
Love you.
All right, see
Your
you,
hair looks
Katie.
amazing.
Thanks.
Is being forced to be silent while we watch two people put together fucking puzzles for 20 minutes. That's stupid. That's bad television. It was boring as shit. Like, we couldn't even be involved. 7 out of 8 tribe members couldn't even be involved in the process. We just had to sit there and twiddle our fucking thumbs while Shannon put a puzzle together. Like, what? I know who came up with it, and they should not be allowed to come up with challenges anymore. That was terrible. Both of the challenges she came up with were terrible. The puzzle one was worse because the trivia one had the potential to be interesting if you guys hadn't pulled the wackest information possible that we didn't even have access to. So there's that. At least it has the potential to be interesting. The puzzle one is only boring. It is only stupid.
All right, so who has thoughts on this video about the puzzle challenge?
Did you say Shayna? She said Shayna?
I think she's talking about Sarah, right? I'm
Yeah,
assuming.
she is.
No, she was talking about Shannon putting the puzzle together, and she called her Shayna, I think.
Oh.
I think she said Shannon.
No, I heard Shannon.
So
How last minute was it when we decided we wanted to do 3 challenges? Because I remember the plan was we were only going to do tie 21 until like a day or two before the challenge, when we all just collectively decided we needed to make it a different, like we needed to make more elements to it.
Well, technically,
Like,
the
let's just
puzzle
make
was
it
a
3
tiebreaker.
challenges.
The puzzle
Yeah.
one was the tiebreaker, technically.
Yes, the puzzle was the tiebreaker. And I mean, I at the time thought like both the trivia one could have been a good idea. And I never thought the puzzle one was a good idea because it like sounds good in theory, but in practice, when you have tiny pieces like that, it's not really going to work where you have to trade pieces with the other person.
Yeah, that was my
I
beef,
guess-
is that, like Kat in the clip was like, it's a puzzle, it's dumb. I mean, puzzle's fine. Like it's okay. My problem was that the trading pieces, because then I was like, okay, then the first 95% of the challenge does not matter at all. And then it's just like,
Yeah,
okay.
but it's all the drama at the end.
And that's
I felt
exactly
like,
what
I felt like
ended
there
up
was good drama
happening.
between Camila and Shannon at the end.
Weren't
I
the
don't know.
puzzles incomplete too? Were the puzzles?
That was the
I feel like
bigger
a piece
issue.
that was wrong.
Yeah.
Somebody
Oh,
was
wait.
missing a piece.
Somebody had more pieces than the other person.
That was it.
Yeah, that's a fuck up.
Yeah.
I think
That
it
was
was.
the
I
bigger
think
problem.
Shannon had more puzzle pieces than Camila. So there's no possible way for them to have made a fair trade, basically. Because like Shannon could have made a deal with Camila where she just gives her all of the pieces, but doesn't give them all to her because she had more pieces, you know.
I remember right when that challenge finished, I think while it was going on, even we just all collectively came up with the lie that they miscounted the pieces. I remember telling
Oh yeah, we
so
went
many
into
people
full
that.
we went into full gaslight mode after that challenge.
We told
100%.
so
Production
many
game.
Yeah.
people like, oh no, it wasn't like different numbered pieces. They just counted wrong. Because why else would they trade at the end? Like we fully lied to as many people as we could. And I think people were just like, and that's why probably Kat didn't even mention the piece portion of it, because she probably thought, oh, okay, like they just miscounted. Because we fully came up with that lie after Camila like yelled at us mid-challenge. She's like, why does she have one more? Or something like that. And it was just total lies from our side. Like Aaron said, we gaslighted the hell out of everyone.
I will say I do like I'm like iffy on her, like what she says at the beginning of this clip where she's like we can't talk while they're doing the puzzle. And part of me is like, I think it would be cool if they could, but then that kind of puts like the puzzle doer at a disadvantage because they can't be involved in tribe conversations. But now that I'm thinking about it, I'm like, is the reason so that there weren't producers next to those pods of people in the shot? Question mark.
Richard?
I don't know about that.
We were behind the 180 line, so we couldn't cross that boundary.
I
I
the
don't
180 line is a real thing
Yeah.
in movies and stuff.
Yeah,
Not
and I
so
get
much for
that.
reality
Right.
TV.
I was gonna say
will
I get that for like movies and when you have like a shot to set up when you know what it's gonna look like, but when everything's happening live in front of you, it's like you kind of want to capture all angles so that you can put together the best final piece. Right?
Yeah.
Ian?
I'm trying to think of if they follow the 180 line in Real Survivor. And
Honestly, I will say post-COVID,
I think
most
they
reality
do.
TV has
They
stopped
do.
really caring about production being shown on camera.
Yeah.
Like now I see a lot more production members like with their masks, and some like Bachelor will blur their faces, but like
Mhm.
I see production a lot in reality now.
Yeah,
Yeah.
season 41, Jeff just talks to us with production in the background from now, which is horrible.
I mean, well, also they have like drones and stuff, so they can get like high up angles so that they can see both the tribe and stuff like that.
We have Kevin that climbs trees. We
Oh yeah. That's a season 3 thing, but when Kevin climbed that tree, that was crazy.
I remember this 180 line creating a lot of arguments between producers, but I don't really remember any times where we were like sacrificing on a shot that we wanted or changing a rule or anything to fit the line. I think
No.
at
Well,
times
because-
people would just veto the line if they wanted to.
Exactly. When we were sick of it, like I know, like in
Richard, how did
challenges
you
that
feel
like
about that
I
when
was
it got vetoed?
How did I think by like a few weeks in, I just didn't care anymore. I was like, I'm gonna do my best, and if people don't listen to me, that's just I'll just edit it out or like it is what it is.
I
I
went on a
think-
lot of rants about it to like Brady and Chloe because, and I still believe this, like, I think whoever the challenge head is should at least decide like filming for the challenge because they know what it's going to look like. They know, what things are going to be going on, or at least like have the better idea for it. Like,
I don't know if I agree with
I feel
that,
like that gives
honestly.
like 6 different people's versions of how to film a challenge, and it's gonna like I don't
Speaking,
know.
I will say in Richard's defense, like speaking as like when I came on for All Stars, I also remember coming off the back of season 2, doing a lot of like, all right, this is how we're actually going to film it because there was like not as much organization around it before, and being like, I do think that often, I'll give Richard some credit that I do think that often the filming aspect, the rest of the producers just kind of don't care about and like don't think is as important as like what's going on in the moment of like the game or the challenge or whatever. And if sometimes felt like, I don't know if you felt this way, Richard, sometimes I feel like I was the only person who was ever thinking about like how this is actually going to like ultimately look, and this is not going to make any sense if we do it like X way,
Yeah.
Yeah, a lot comes on the person filming also, because I mean there are a lot of cases where all you have to do is pan by maybe another 10 degrees and try to not have producers in the back of your shots, and you can make that
but
effort.
a decent number of our photographers are also inebriated a good amount of the time, unfortunately. So there is that. So let's move on to, there's the watermelon challenge. Was there any good gossip about that? From what I read, we blew pretty much all of our budget on watermelons. So, was that the plan, or what exactly happened with that?
On dirty ass
I think
watermelons.
I think more
I
of the
did
budget
pay
went to
for
the
at least
donuts.
half of those. I paid for a lot of those watermelons out of my pocket. So
Really?
I mean, I don't know how much of it blew the budget, but I kind of I push back a little bit on that.
I think most of
meet and greet with Will.
You mean Eric?
Eric.
Right
Oh my
back.
gosh.
No, if you
I'm
bought
not a
donuts,
super
those
fan.
never got used.
Yeah, no, that's where our budget went though. Like the donuts and coffee for that meet and greet is where the budget went.
Why
The
did
meet
you
and
guys?
greet that didn't happen.
Why'd you
because
buy the
his
donuts and
wife or
coffee if it didn't
girlfriend
Part of the
happen?
was
reward
sick.
was going to be that after the challenge, they could meet Eric, talk to him, have donuts, coffee, and talk about Survivor or whatever they wanted to talk about. But Eric had to leave unexpectedly. He had a thing come up, so he had to leave right after the challenge happened. And so then we were just like, I guess we're gonna eat the donuts. Like production
Yeah.
just ate the
Prod
donuts.
just ate 'em.
with the tribe.
Yep.
Well, we went and had a steak dinner, but everybody else ate them.
The
Well,
plan.
I
was-
liked the watermelon challenge. That was my baby.
Oh, that's a great challenge.
Oh, you
I
did?
think that was a great challenge, and I think it was a fair challenge. I don't think there was any complaints about fairness with that challenge.
I think it was
right?
like one of our more fun challenges, honestly, to watch.
I think
That's
the
like
only
the iconic
complaint,
season 4 challenge. I feel like is
the only
watermelon
complaint I
challenge.
think was that like pretty much whoever got Eric was going to win that challenge because they had an extra person. Like they
I don't
didn't
know if I
need
agree
to
with
balance
that.
it
Pounds.
out.
To
They
be
won by
They
fair-
6
destroyed
pounds.
them. Like they
To be fair, that
destroyed them.
tribe was already stacked. We didn't know how stacked they were until they showed up,
Oh.
and they were all giant and
Yeah.
like
That's another complaint I've heard. Some people have complained the tribes were unfairly divided to begin with, and that the challenges
This
were
goes
all very
back to the
physical.
theme.
They
It
were
goes
all
That
very
goes back to
physical.
like everything was just so pigeonholed on the theme that everything else kind of got shoved to the
well, we
side,
don't
and
like
that's
ask
another one.
people's heights or weights or anything when we cast them. Like until we see them in person that first day, we have no idea like what people's physical capabilities even could be.
No,
So
but
it
when
just-
you are putting all of the engineers and theater nerds on one tribe and then all of the other
All the
people on the
lawyers
other,
and Ross majors
yeah,
on the other side.
it kind of makes sense.
So I've definitely heard some complaints from El Norte that the odds were against them from the get-go. Oh,
They're
do we want to
correct.
talk about the controversy over the idols on this season? I don't know if anyone remembers this fiasco.
Oh God.
What
Oh,
did
we all
Kevin
remember
show
this
Dale where
fiasco,
the
yeah.
idol was? Is that what happened?
You're bringing back like.
Oh, is that true? I didn't even know that.
I don't know. I thought people were suggesting that or hinting that something.
The
like
one
that might
I know
happen.
is that I believe that the idol Eliza found was perhaps there was some untowards play going on there. If
Not
anyone-
intentionally, but it
Oh.
was just like poor decision making. So the way it went, I guess I'll tell the story. The way it went is like Austin, like during the course of season 3, kind of mentioned in a conversation with Eliza, like, oh, this would be a really good place to hide an idol. And then lo and behold, Austin subsequently hides the idol directly where he told Eliza would be a really good place to hide the idol. So eventually, when Eliza is checking Central Campus, which was not even her idol, for like good places to find the idol, she goes, oh, let me just check here because Austin mentioned it that one time. And she then found the idol that wasn't for her tribe that she didn't have a clue for. And all of a sudden, one tribe has no idols and one tribe has two because one person sort of already knew where to look.
Yeah.
What's the Dale and Kevin story? I hadn't heard that one.
Well, I remember people afterwards kind of just talking about it, and I wish that Kevin or Dale was here to maybe defend themselves, but I just remember there being a general sense that maybe Kevin was a bit too enthusiastic with his filming about perhaps highlighting where it might be, preemptively zooming in on the spot or standing too close for it or having too much energy directed at the spot that it was. I mean, this, like I said, this is kind of unsubstantiated, so.
Was Kevin filming Dale when he found the idol? I thought Dale had gone out there by himself and was filming himself. No?
I thought Kevin was there.
No, Kevin was there.
No.
I know that Matthew has been accused multiple times of being a bit forward with the camera when people are looking for idols. So now we're getting into the merge and stuff. Is there any other drama or beef around this time people remember? There was also a lot of controversy around the timing of things.
There was a mistake in the merge challenge. There was a giant mistake that ended up not really being a huge deal. But so what we did was the merge challenge was a thing where you have cups and you have to hold your arm up in the air, right? And we were going to do a thing where if at some point during the challenge, like an hour in or something, you could lose immunity, run to the other side of the field, which was 100 yards away. And there were 3 cups and there was one advantage in 1 cup. And so 2 of them were going to be empty.
No,
right?
one had an idol clue.
Exactly. But we had an idol clue hidden at the merge feast. No one found the idol clue at the merge feast. So I don't know if it was my decision or a cumulative decision with everybody, but someone decided to put the immunity idol clue inside one of the other cups. So then
the other cup led you to the advantage, right?
Yeah, so there would be 1 cup with the advantage clue and then 1 cup with the immunity auto clue and then 1 cup that was totally empty. So I think 2 people ended up dropping, Dale and one other person. I can't remember who. But I remember, I think it was Kevin. I said, Kevin, put this in one of the empty cups. But Kevin put the immunity clue in the same cup as the advantage clue. No, it must have been Dale and Jackson, I guess. Because
Matthew it was Matthew. Matthew found the idol clue, not Dale. It was Matthew and Kat. Kat found the advantage clue.
Yeah.
Oh, and then Kat shared it because that was Kat's.
Yeah, and she just told everybody about it.
Okay. Yeah, but anyway,
I think what happened.
They ended up being really nice about it.
Nate. Yeah, that's right.
Matthew and Nate ran, and they only found one thing.
Yes, Matthew and Nate went for it, and Matthew, Nate, and Kat all went for it, and somehow Nate ended up with nothing.
Yes, no, it was funny. I think they found Matthew and Kat got to the cup at the same time, and they just each took 1, so they didn't take both. So it ended up working, even though it could have been really bad, where they both ended up one person could have had both advantages, or the clue and the advantage at the same time, which wasn't ever supposed to happen. There was only supposed to be you were supposed to go to 1 cup. So I guess if one person went and they could have found all 3 or all 2 things.
Interesting.
But the way it worked out was they ended up splitting it up just naturally, even though they
in the grand scheme of season 4, though, this has got to be considered an unfiltered success.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, no, this was
absolutely.
I was really happy that they decided to just share them.
I had some thoughts on this challenge.
It could have been really bad.
Also,
I was
the windiest day in existence for this challenge.
So this challenge, I felt like with this challenge, this is one of the ones where I kind of thought of this wanting it to go really late, thinking okay, this could be a challenge that goes 10 hours, that goes all night, it's at the merge, it's going to be, the big moment that people can they can get this if they can endure. But I think we kind of had another too many cooks in the kitchen situation where, we really probably only needed to have 2 or 3 producers there that would stay through the whole challenge. But, we had 10 that were there. And people, I think, again, that weren't even on the challenge committee were wanting to change the rules as the challenge went on, saying, okay, maybe now stand on 1 foot, maybe now hop. And I kind of didn't appreciate that because I felt like it was more of producers wanting to leave and go home. And I didn't understand that at the time because I'm people can just leave. We don't need 10 people here. I want this challenge to go all night, and I was frustrated by
There
that
was a
personally.
tornado warning,
Yeah,
bro.
this was also during like on the theme of
Oh,
like our
yeah,
challenges
there was a
being
tornado
during awful
warning.
weather. Yeah, this one was during a tornado warning.
That was
I
the
don't
reason we wanted to
remember
wrap
any
it up. We
tornado.
probably would have let it go, but then as we like right around the time we started the challenge, Cooper wasn't
People
even
were
there. By the way,
sleepy.
that
That's
was
how
that
I
challenge.
remember
It was cold and rainy and windy.
It was cold, so windy. Like it was the windiest day, which is the worst day to do this.
This is
The wind knocked
Survivor.
down and eliminated 3 or 4
College
people.
Survivor.
He also had George guest host, and then he had to leave in the middle of his guest hosting.
Yeah.
Yeah, so we had to
well,
put Akshay.
And then
I was the
Akshay did a
backup
great
guest
job
host.
after that.
Will, I will say if I had been there for this one, I feel like I also would have been on the same page as you of just like
Thank you. Of
I
like
would've
one
wanted to
person
see
film,
how-
we need the host. Everyone else just leave, please.
And
Like
I think that was probably the issue is that like George was the step-in host, but then he like wanted to go, and then Akshay had stepped in, so it wasn't like it like you kind of needed a host there, but it, like as people were just kind of like leaving, it just I wasn't even there for this. I'm just guessing that production and as a whole just like wanted it to be over, but.
I think we had to make it over for safety reasons. I think we were all terrified a tornado might have hit. And
I
we
do
wanted
not
to get
remember.
out of there.
I do not remember it that way at all. But I'm one voice. I guess I'm wrong.
There was a lot of inclement weather this season.
We should have just kept passing off the host. So it would have been George, then Akshay, then Will could have taken over for the rest of the challenge, you know?
Going down the line.
Yeah.
Eventually Cooper like shows up.
Yeah, it goes late enough that Cooper's able to come back.
Yeah.
Well, there was briefly discussed this beef between one of the questions we got was there real beef between production or was it just between production and the cast? And it was earlier brought up there was some discrepance between Will and Bree. So is there anyone want to talk about that a little bit more? Or what was that all about?
I mean, like it's so long ago. I genuinely don't remember much about it. I think most of it was I just didn't feel like Will respected me, but also it may have been seen that I had favoritism for Challenge Committee 1. Because after Challenge 3, I was on challenge committees to ask more frequently about their challenges because I didn't want to fuck up anymore. And the issue too was I was like on 2 theater productions during the semester. So I was very rarely at a lot of challenges. So like it very much was like, Kevin, make sure like this shit was happening. I won't be there. So like, in my opinion, it honestly probably seemed awful for me to be like constantly like dogging this one team but never showing up to like actually see if they like were executing things well or not. But yeah, it just really caused beef between Will and I because I think Will was really like the leader of his challenge committee side, so we had the most conflict, and ultimately it led to me just being like, Kevin, can you tell Will to do this, because I don't think Will would listen to me.
So I would say I do respect Bree and Kevin. I respected both of them. I think from my perspective, I was dealing with the fact that I did have a big ego, especially as a grad student. I worked alone almost all the time on my research. So I was kind of like, you know, it was like I was used to working on my baby and kind of having creative control over something. So I had a bit of an ego from that. And at the same time, after that second challenge where my subcommittee really got humiliated and most of them quit or weren't as involved, I kind of felt defensive constantly. And I think the beef that that came up with Bree is from my perspective, I felt very defensive constantly because I felt like I really wanted to try to redeem myself and have big ideas that were outside of the box, maybe not just do the same thing we did other seasons, you know, like the watermelon or Tie 21. I just wanted to do different things and kind of shoot big. And I guess, you know, Bree was practical and pragmatic and you know, which is a good thing. And I think we just kind of butted heads because of my defensive-ness and feeling like she was picking on us, which, you know, she needed to pick on us because we had really, you know, screwed the pooch early on.
I also do remember there was almost a little bit of a resentment towards exec as a whole for a little bit because like I think it was about 7 execs that, you know, had veto power, you know, they made final decisions. And then like one of the first decisions they made was the penalty. So we were like, that was a bad decision. And then on top of that, Katie was an exec, but she was studying abroad the whole semester. Bree was exec, and like she said, she was involved in 2 theater productions, so it was just harder for her to come to Survivor stuff. Lucy, I think, kind of went in and out for when she wanted to show up this entire season, and she was an exec. So it was a lot of just like, you got all these people who are supposed to be the most responsible in our season, and they're not showing up. And then when they
And they
show up,
weren't
they're
voted for either. That's
yeah, they
the other
weren't voted for.
aspect
A
of
lot
it.
of people didn't even know that exec like apps were out when they happened. I remember I had no idea
So who picked
that
the
exec
exec
apps were a
members? Was it
thing.
just
And
Cooper
then all of a
unilaterally?
sudden, they're making decisions, and especially like there was a couple execs that are not here, so don't worry, I'm not talking about you guys. That like would come very periodically and then like freaking wield a hammer and just like say things, and I was like, as though they were there the whole time. And I was like, you don't deserve to talk to us like this. You haven't been here. You don't get to make these decisions. And so it was just kind of like, why, who chose exec? Like, where the hell did they come from? And so that kind of was the sentiment for a lot of the season.
Yeah, and speaking on that, like that was a little bit like what we felt, I know, like challenge-wise and in a couple different committees, that like for example, like the one challenge that went to shit, like Sarah got just completely like shit on by everyone. And then some people were like, well, isn't it like Bree and Kevin's kind of job to look over it too? And so it was just, but then like, you know, Bree and Kevin come in and be like, we're doing this now, we're the exec, we say what happens. So there was like just beef there because it was like the challenge people got the blame but didn't have any power. So like it was just a very weird dynamic where
there was also, remember, this was season 4. There is the undercurrent the entire time that everyone knows All-Stars is happening very soon.
Yes.
No one wants to like, all this tension is bubbling under the surface a little bit at the same time, because no one wants to like mess up their All-Stars game. No one wants to not be cast for All-Stars. Some people are like, oh, I want to be in charge when All-Stars happen, so I got to make sure I get in with the right people. Like there was so many more balls to this than just producing season 4.
And I think on that
That's
note
such a
too,
good
like
point.
it's such a tumultuous period because not only is All-Stars on the horizon, but this is fresh off season 3, where like, first of all, like obviously we have our own issues within each other, but then also like a lot of season 3 came in with these huge egos onto season 4 production that they hadn't earned, that like there was no reason for. And they were like honestly, quite frankly, a lot of the season 3 producers were just like, I know better, even though they absolutely did not. And that caused a lot of strife, a lot of tension. And yeah, so I think the combination, it was just the timing. Like, honestly, it was just the perfect recipe for disaster coming off of season 3 and going into All-Stars.
The All-Stars angle is interesting. Like, do any of you guys particularly remember like thinking about that all the time?
I was working on an alliance with Kevin at that time.
I remember specifically there were like people I did not like on production that I was just like, I need to play as nice as I possibly can, because they are probably going to be on All-Stars and I need them to not hate me. Like that definitely occurred. Cause like everyone knows I speak my mind. But like there were times where I like, yeah, thanks Brady. And then there were times that like I wanted to just go ham on someone like I had in previous seasons. Like, you are an idiot. Why are you making these decisions? And I just didn't. So like, this person's definitely gonna be an All-Stars. I need to shut up. And then once All-Stars was done, I went in on everyone that pissed me off.
Yeah, everybody wanted to get their voice heard. So like if there was a discussion happening at a time where like somebody wasn't available, they would be like, I can't respond to this now, but like I'm gonna give my thoughts later. And it's like, okay, but like that's not how this works. Like everybody can't put in their 2 cents. Like if you're not around right now when we need this decision made.
I will say that at the time, I personally blamed a lot of this on Cooper, because to be honest, it seemed to me that this was very much an absentee parent situation. You know, like as far as I could tell, Cooper was ostensibly the man in charge of this whole operation. And if anyone was to be in charge, it seems like it would be him. And yet, as far as I could tell, he in fact abdicated his duty on numerous occasions. And usually I would I'd be sitting on the couch looking at the group chat. I'd be like, yo, what the hell's going on? And I would knock on Cooper's bedroom door, be like, yo, Cooper, you seeing this? You gonna do anything about this? And he would like roll over and be like, I'm sleeping. I'm playing All-Stars. Like, this is my last season hosting. I don't care. Stop bothering me. And roll over and go back to bed. So
Cooper made sure that you weren't cast and then did nothing for the rest of the season.
Yeah, like
that's the only decision he made was the whole
Cooper,
season. Was
do you
making
want
sure
to
I wasn't
respond? I
cast.
feel like they're just
Yeah,
sitting
because
on
I
you.
will say, like, Cooper, I feel like there were so many chefs in the kitchen or whatever. Like, we didn't care about Cooper's opinion. If Cooper really wanted to give an opinion, I think we honestly would
But
have just
somebody
been like,
needed
okay.
to be in charge. Like I fully believe in student org dictatorships. There needs to be somebody or some small number of people, like 2 or 3, that just roll with an iron fist ultimately. Like someone has to, the Bucks got to stop somewhere, and I don't think it stopped anywhere in season.
Sure, but that wasn't the structure that we had.
There was no structure. That's why
We didn't have a constitution. We had nothing.
Right, but who was in charge?
Actually,
No.
false. We did
But
have a
this is why it's
constitution.
Cooper's fault. Who was in
Really?
charge? Who could
We
have put
did
a
have a
constitution in place?
Afterwards.
No, we did have a constitution. We made it at B-dubs. After like this final 4 challenge of season 3, we made a constitution for production. And we also had waivers for the contestants that for season 4, which honestly is the main cast we needed them for. So thank goodness we did those.
Yeah, thank God we had waivers that season.
But we did, yeah.
What I will say is that production as a whole, this was the first time it got big, right? So that was our first issue, and we did have exec, but we made a collective decision going into the season that there wasn't going to be one person in charge because everybody did want to give their opinion. And that was the decision that got made, was that there was not a single person in charge for the reason of people didn't want somebody to be making unilateral decisions. So it was a group effort, which also then turned into, yes, there were many times where there were too many cooks in the kitchen. But it was also, it would have been an issue the other way had one person been making every decision, because everybody for every decision wanted to be giving their opinion. And when they didn't get their way, they obviously got pissed. So that in itself would have just been happening even way more than it already did. So like, there wasn't really any winning with the size of this production team and how many people on the production team wanted like their ideas to be the ones eventually implemented. In theory, it sounds great if one person is doing all of that and making all the decisions. But if that's the case, then there's actually going to be so many more unhappy people on production is probably the realistic
I guess, but there does need to be somebody who can say, all right, this is what we're doing after like, hours of people arguing in the group chat. Like
and that's what exec's
needs
role
to
was
exist.
supposed to be.
Well,
Like
and
that's what the 7
Yeah.
people were supposed to do.
Yeah. And I think like another like thing that we just kind of ran into was that, yeah, like Cooper said, like every decision, all of a sudden everyone was like, what I want to happen happens. And why I think like me, Chloe, and Aaron worked well in our little challenge team was because like we knew every second or third challenge was ours. No one is fucking with it. That is it. We like don't need to like fight or do anything. That is ours. And so I
Wow,
feel
you,
like,
Chloe, and Aaron working well together. Who would have thought?
And this is what we wanted to have happen, was these little groups of like 3 people to be doing challenges, or there were like 3 people that were supposed to be doing everything with idols and advantages and twists and scheduling. Everybody was supposed to have their own thing, that it really was supposed to come down to those few people to make the final call on this, which is why you see like me during the trivia challenge, like Sarah was the one making the final call on all of those things, because that was decided, like that was the person who it got designated to. And so there are issues both ways, where if you have one person doing it, but it might not be the best idea, now you've all of a sudden deferred to everything they say goes rather than consulting the group. So again, it goes both.
On the more positive side of things, 2 positive things I'd like to bring up. One is that the final 4 challenge for this season, when I was editing it and stuff, I thought this was the best challenge we've ever done on Survivor Michigan. And seems like it would have had to have been meticulously organized. So I'm very curious.
That was
after
all
a whole
Brie.
season,
All Brie.
I was a stage manager. Like that's really like
the amazing race challenge. I was like the producer. We had to have producers in like 10 different locations. Like how did that even? How did that work?
I really just organized it like a theater production. I'll be honest. I like did a rough plan, and then I color coded things, and I like handed them out in little baskets with all the supplies. And I was like, okay, you're stationed at, I forgot the locations, whatever, the diag, whatever fields. It's been too long since college. But yeah, and I also was very much like, we need to have one filmer on each person running. So I was like, who's the most athletic? Please wear all black, because we had the whole issue about seeing producers on screen. But yeah, I think in hindsight, maybe in the same way that like Chloe, Aaron, and Brady were able to do a challenge well because they like worked well together. Like it could have worked that we had like only one person plan a challenge by themselves. They probably, like, if Will was able to probably just do a challenge by himself, I do believe he had the capabilities of making a really well organized challenge by himself. I feel like if I had people giving opinions to my Amazing Race challenge, it would have not been as successful. So yeah.
And it's funny, I think that's how it had been run in the past, where it's like we would just go like near beginning of the season, I think like right in the middle of the season, and just say one person takes the challenge of this week, you're in charge of everything. And that's kind of how, so like for Bree, this, I think Final Four, she picked that out like early that like, this is the challenge I want to do. And so she like planned it from the beginning. She was like, and then she was the person in charge. Everyone knew if you have a question, ask Bree. Bree will give you the answer. And I think we just needed a lot more of that throughout the course of the season, because if there were things like I said, that's how we had been running it. Then this season we trialed something new. And I think in the future we went back to, okay, each challenge goes to one person because of, you know, one, the multiple people didn't work very well this season. And two, the one person that did do the challenge was amazing. You know, that challenge was, as Ian said, maybe the greatest challenge in Survivor Michigan.
Yeah, I was honestly really nervous too, because like I said, I wasn't showing up to most of the production. So I was like, if this was a flop, like Flop Nation over here. Like I was like, it has to be good. Otherwise, I just look like a shitty person all year.
Yeah. The other thing I think is interesting about season 4 is that for a very long time, definitely while it was going on, certainly afterwards, and certainly up until season 4 came out, I think it was always seen by everyone in Survivor Michigan as the bad season. You know, like season 1 was the OG, season 2 was good, season 3 has all the drama, and season 4 was bad. You know, and I feel like everybody always talked about it in that way. Like, oh, that's just what we have to get through because then we'll get to do All Stars, you know, and All Stars is so good. So so for me, at least when I was editing it, like I expected it to be, I was pleasantly surprised to find that I thought it was really enjoyable. And I've said that I think it was my favorite one. If I were to go back and just rewatch one, I enjoy the people, like the characters on it talking the most. I think it's the most just entertaining if I were to go back and rewatch it, even though the like strategy isn't all that interesting. I don't know if anyone else has a similar experience, but did anybody else feel like, what are your thoughts just on that? Like season 4 was like being bad, or then how did your review change when it came out or anything?
I think part of that had to do with a lot of the most entertaining moments came in confessionals. So most people aren't around to see those confessionals. Confessionals are just their producer. So that one producer knows that this is entertaining. So like Camila's confessionals are fantastic. Shannon's confessionals are absolutely amazing. Kat's confessional, she's roasting us the whole time, but they get pretty good once they get to content, you know, and no one saw those other than like, I think Brady saw Kat's and Crouch saw Shannon, and like the one person who was in charge saw that one. And then when we got to gameplay, which is the one thing all of us could see, it was Dale is dominating. This is very boring. Dale has 2 idols. No one's voting out Dale at Final Four. Why won't anyone like target Dale? So it just got like very boring for us, because it was just like the game is very clearly going towards Dale, and then Dale wins. And so we just all went, yeah, this is a terrible season. It's very obvious that Dale wins the whole time. And then looking back on it, Ian, you had a gold mine and you took advantage of it, because Camila's confessional, like I said, Camila, Shannon, Kat, Dale, Jackson, like even Ivy, Nate, like they were all so good in their confessionals. And I was just like, I wish that came out more during the like tribals and the challenges, but at least Tom. You still got to edit together a much more entertaining season than I was expecting. Oh yeah, Tom. And then you got to put together a much more entertaining season than I was expecting to watch. So good job, Ian, for sure.
Plus, I do think that Ian, you got better at editing, like through seasons 2, 3, and 4. Mm-hmm. I think it would 2 and 3 would probably be more like a little bit better if you had that experience. Because I remember watching 4 and thinking like this is miles better than season 2, just editing wise. And I think that makes a huge difference. I think in the back of my mind, I think that it looks a little bit better, but that just might be because I filmed it and I think it looks better because I did that. It could be biased, but
I do think it looks better. I think there was more coverage and stuff. There was very few times in season 4 where there was like angles missing, you know?
We had enough people holding phones.
It's the characters ultimately, though. It's always character driven, and season 4 had really good characters.
Yeah, I was gonna say, for me, like looking back on season 4 before it came out, like all you have is your own experience. So I feel like a lot of production, we just had a bad time, you know, like throughout season 4. So we were like, that was a bad experience, so it's gonna be a bad season. But there was a lot going on outside of us that we didn't recognize at the time and that we weren't able to see until it came out in the final product. And so it was kind of like, oh wow, it was actually good and we were bad.
Yeah. And like kind of going off like what Akshay mentioned is that I think like in this sense, the big production team helped us because we were able to divide up basically like one production member to like one contestant or like close enough to that where like we were scheduling like one-on-ones with them either like every couple days or every week or whenever it was necessary and like kind of drawing that drama out from them by asking them those leading questions. Like I know like during like season 3, I like filmed like a 1 3-minute video like every week, just kind of recapping it. And I was like, boom, done. But like season 4, we like sat them down, had like list of questions that we were like sharing in group chats that we had written down that we had thought of. And we're asking them to them like directly and like really trying to get that drama out. So then, yeah, like what Richard said, there's literally a gold mine there. And like there's just so much stuff from all the confessionals that we were able to like film and draw from them in that way too, to really draw out like the great characters that we had to get that energy on screen.
All right, should we get to the last clip that I have picked out here?
Oh
This
boy.
Tell me it's the one. Tell me
This
it's the
is
one.
the big one.
Yes!
This is the big one. All right.
Yes.
So everyone watch clip number 1. Yeah, okay.
Wait, can you not stand there while you're Googling? Please, Kat, get out of the shot.
I angled my phone so they couldn't see it. Can you all take a fucking chill pill? Thank you.
No.
Dude, suck my dick. Why?
That's the TV we want.
I don't think anyone got
It's
Uh,
it.
not gonna be on.
That like
It
can't.
can be.
That can't be
No.
on.
Yeah, it can
Oh wait,
be.
does swearing not go on?
No, swearing does.
Oh, it does.
We're online. Anything can go on.
You just don't have the producer.
You know how many bleeps there would be?
Incredible.
All
10 out
right,
of 10.
so
Oh, it does.
should we start with Will on this one? Like, what was this all about? What was going on here?
I don't know. What is there to say about this? I mean, she's, she was Googling, I think she was Googling the answer to a
Yeah.
trivia question.
Mhm.
And there were people still in the challenge standing next to her. And yeah, I mean, I guess maybe I somewhat probably escalated it, but it's because I guess when I said, like, can you not stand there? I was thinking she'd be like, oh yeah, my bad, and step away. But it's the fact that she was immediately like offensive, not, defensive back, and then I'm defensive back, and then she gave me the finger and told me to suck her dick, and the rest is history.
Nate's reaction just gets me every
That's
time.
the TV we want.
That's the TV we want.
And I was
That's
like,
good
please tell me
TV.
that makes the episode. And I don't think it could because she was at Will. And so it made no sense, but it was so amazing.
I did
Good
love our
secret
little
scene.
discussion after being like, is this gonna be in it? Can we have cussing? Like-
Are we allowed to cuss? Oh yeah, we can cuss. We're
This is
online.
not
We're
about
good.
the cussing.
It's the commentary behind it is just so funny. And then you watch Nate and Matthew and Jackson also. It's
Also,
literally perfect.
Jackson, I might have to subtitle it. Jackson says, yo, can you show me the answer to that one? So he like does say, he says specifically, yo, Kat, you got the answer to like number 3 or something along those lines. And that's when Will is like, yo, Kat, like get away from them, whatever.
Also, she had cheated before. Like,
This even at the beginning of that clip you just showed, you can see Jackson looking down at her phone. So like,
Oh, yeah.
I think
Of
we all
course.
agreed with Will.
She
like,
was
get the hell away.
angling it away from them. It was fine.
She was, but like, Jackson would have looked if he
Oh
could.
yeah.
Oh, without a doubt.
This cast mixed with this like shit show of a production team was such a horrible combination in the sense that like I think other casts, season 1, season 2, season 3, if things had been going wrong in different challenges, there would have been like complaining, whatever. Not all of them were completely fair, but there wouldn't have been so much like season
Animosity.
4, the cast was like pushing back on production and being like, you suck, while constantly then trying to like subvert all the different rules that we were then trying to put in place to like make it more fair. It then just became a little war between both parties of just like, no, like we need to put in boundaries because you guys suck. And they're like, no, you guys suck and can't run a good challenge. So we're just gonna have to like now like all bets are off. We're just doing our own thing and like anything goes. So it was like,
right, and then we're coming back like ultimately like we're doing this for fun. We're taking our time to organize a game for you guys. Can you not hate our guts like every time something isn't perfect?
Yeah, we started off on such a bad foot, like with the pickle challenge and then with the trivia challenge. Like they just had zero respect for us. And it showed. And quite frankly, they had no reason to respect us because we were disorganized and we were a mess. But like they knew that they could take advantage of that. And this, like Cooper said, yeah, this was the perfect group of people to do exactly that.
I think
Like I don't know about the rest of you, obviously will, but like, did anybody else receive a threat from Kat? Because I certainly did.
Yeah,
I
I
think
think it
Kat had
almost
a
goes
crush
back
on
a
me.
little bit
Aaron,
to what
you
Will
received
said.
a threat from Kat
What kind of
also. What
threat?
did she say
Well,
to you?
she like she gave me her phone to hold during kicking and screaming. And she said, if anything happens to my phone, I'm gonna kill you. And I was like, oh, okay.
I think it
And
almost
I
goes
was
back.
one of the producers she liked.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
It goes back a little bit to what Will said earlier. We're like, oh, I was the grad student. I was used to working on my own. We had probably the oldest cast on average this season.
Yeah.
We had, Dale is
Jackson,
literally
Megan.
an adult with
Dale was
married
28.
about
He's like 28.
yeah. And Jackson's a law student, grad student. Megan's a grad student. Ton of seniors.
Mhm.
And
Big
so there was
Michigan
like,
egos.
yeah,
Yep.
so there was a lot of people who were just like these young kids who, based on challenges 1 and 3, clearly have no clue what they're doing, are trying to tell us what to do. We've seen more in our lives than they have. We know like stuff they don't, and it just sort of like Cooper said, horrible combination of cast and production coming together for the worst kind of cocktail storm, whatever you want to call it. And it showed behind the scenes. I don't think it showed on screen, but it definitely showed behind the scenes a lot more.
I don't know. Is there anything else? I feel like that pretty much
I've
wraps
got-
up the subjects I
Dude,
had.
suck my
Yeah,
dick.
I've got one thing. I've got one last thing. And it's like, because it carried into like right after the season ended, Dale hosted a party for the cast at the Porch Bar, which is what he called his house. And like, it really showed because usually, you've got your big Survivor parties, like everybody is invited, all of prod, all of the cast. Dale's party was just for the cast, and there were only 4 producers that got the invite to
Yeah,
that
I was
party.
like, I don't know what you're talking about. What is this party get to?
Yeah.
I've never heard of it.
Who got invited? Who got the? Who
It
were the
was
special
Dale's.
for?
It was so I guess 5 people got the invite.
Yeah, I couldn't
So-
go, but I got the
Okay,
invite.
so Cooper was invited, and then Dale's producer, who was Sarah Minnis, Emily Paddock, Sam, and myself.
What a combination. of people.
Interesting.
Holy crap.
Somehow you guys got the golden ticket, and everybody else
Yeah.
was a shit producer.
Pretty much.
That's fair.
How annoyed / surprised were you guys when Dale did not get voted out at Final Four?
Annoyed 100%, surprised not at all.
We're not surprised. I
Dale
think
was
we
on our
need a-
draft team, so Brady and I were
Oh.
very happy.
We need to talk about the draft team. Our draft team kicked ass. Okay, wait. I was looking at the points. I just sent a picture to
Did you have like Dale, Shannon, Kat, and Jackson or something
We had
ridiculous
Dale,
like
Shannon,
that?
Katie, and Jackson.
Katie
Yeah,
and Jackson. Okay.
Yeah. Like we had twice as many points as the other draft teams. It was great. We were happy with it.
Also, I remember us knowing like probably Dale was going to win Final Tribal, but believing that Shannon probably had the best Final Tribal performance ever in 4 seasons at that
Yes.
point. Like we were just like, if this wasn't like Dale dominating as bad as he had all season, Shannon would have won this game because that was impressive.
100%.
I don't know. Nate was robbed.
The funny thing is, I think Nate would not have even gotten that many votes if he made it to the end. 'Cause
I think Nate would have won if he was against the right people. I think if it was
No way.
there's
There's
only
no
2
way.
people that he can beat.
No,
Matthew
Okay,
and Kat,
Matthew.
Matthew
Okay.
and Kat, and you tell me how Nate doesn't win against Matthew and
No,
Kat.
I think if Matthew makes it, I think
Matthew. I think that's
I
the only
don't
combination that
know.
Matthew wins. Actually,
I think you.
I
feel
don't
like
think
Matthew
Matthew
had
wins.
more
Fighting
respect
chance
at the time.
Here's
I
the
don't think
thing.
Dale and Shannon are never. Dale, Shannon, and Jackson will never vote for Matthew.
I think
don't
Dale
care.
would have voted for
Dale
Matthew
wasn't
in that
voting Nate or
situation.
Kat.
No.
Yeah,
no,
Shannon
but
would
you don't
have Shannon would have voted Kat, I think.
Yeah,
Yeah.
But
Kat
Dale
both
would have
didn't
Dale
care.
would have voted Matthew.
I think
Jackson
You don't
Jackson
think
would
Dale
have
would have
voted
voted
Matthew.
You don't
Matthew.
think that
Yeah.
Jack and Katie and Megan are like, yeah, let's vote for Nate?
No,
No.
Oh, Jack and
Ivy's
Nate
gonna
like
vote for
each
Nate.
other.
Ivy's gonna vote for Nate.
Ivy's voting
Ivy
Nate,
would
and I
vote
think
for
that's
Nate.
it.
Yeah.
I don't know. I feel like if Nate
I
was
think
like,
Megan
"Fuck
might."
Tokyo,"
Megan would actually. Ivy and Megan.
No, I just got chewed out because he didn't remember George's name, so that's why I brought it up.
Yeah, that's why you lost.
I didn't totally get Nate's game completely because like I knew he had that alliance.
Oh, there wasn't a strategy.
That was
Like,
the thing.
There was no game to get. Like
His game was winning.
potential, but-
No, his game was just solving all the puzzles. That was his game.
The puzzler.
Yeah.
Do you remember that one meeting he had with Ivy, like deep within the merge, where it was like I think like Ivy basically told him that she wanted to vote him out at 5 or something. It was like they were like planning how they were going to play together, but they were both talking about voting each other out at like 5 or something. And that conversation made no sense to me.
That doesn't surprise me.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think I remember watching that. Ivy saying to him, "Well, I have to vote you out because otherwise NL Norte would win if they got to the end. So I have to vote you in a final 5." And Nate was like, and yeah, that's in the show actually.
Yeah.
Well, unless anyone has anything else, I think that pretty much sums it up. Yeah.
Yeah.
Good. Thank you guys all for coming. I hope you've enjoyed the season 4 crew reunion and have enjoyed all of these reunions. This is the last one. So, the detour to the revenge tour that we've been calling it is over, and stay tuned very, very soon for news about what's next, because it's going to be very, very exciting. So, yeah. Does anybody have anything they want to plug or talk about?
Watch All Stars.
Watch All Stars.